You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. Disney.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome in to another episode of the Six Screens of the Watchtower. Well, we've been doing this now for 20 years. We've never missed a Saturday night. We are here because you are here. And we are so pleased to see what's going on right now in the Watchtower organization. We are seeing an organization in free fall. And boy, I'll tell you what, that doesn't bother me one bit. And I don't think it's bothering any of you folks as well. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for wanting to join us here on a Saturday night and spend some time with us. We should have a pretty good program tonight. Generally, Barbara Anderson comes on, but as we all know, she's been she's been having some difficulty with her health, and of course, losing her husband just a month and a half ago. So it's created some issues for her. So Barbara won't be on tonight, but hopefully she'll be back with us in 2 weeks. And she is looking forward to coming to the convention. Now, I want to mention something. You know, this program has gained a lot of momentum. We have a lot of people that tune in on the radio network. That's our telephone line. And, you know, we'd love to have you tonight as well. Call up if you can. You can see the number on YouTube and Facebook. So if you have an opportunity to check in with us tonight, see, that's what makes the program. I could sit here all night and bloviate, but really what makes the program is you folks coming on in real time and telling us what you feel about the Watchtower, what your spin is. We give you news and you spin it right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Well, it's amazing. It's really amazing that we're still here, 2025, still alive in 2025. Well, I've been preaching that now for, the last year. We have a convention, an ex-Jehovah's Witness convention, and that convention is going to be coming up, about 3 months from now. That's going to be coming up in August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So we'll have them coming on. We'll have a lot of witnesses coming up and being with us right up here in Boston. So we're looking forward to that. So if you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness, or you're Jehovah's Witness that is doubting the Watchtower, and you like to be with people of like mind, well, by all means, you want to be up here this August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for our first ex-Jehovah's Witness convention. Now, we already have about 300 people that have somewhat committed themselves to come, and we're going to be meeting each other. It's going to be a wonderful time. We have room for about 500. We only have about 300 in our main auditorium. We're going to have it at the Hilton Hotel. That's up here in the Boston area. And if you want more information on the convention this summer, well, you can see right on the screen below. You can see if you go to sixscreensofthewatchtower.com, you'll be able to get all the information you need, where the hotel is. You'll be able to get an idea of the food services nearby. The cost of the room, friends, is a little pricey. It's $175 with the discount. If you didn't ask for the discount, and I'm going to give you a code, if you ask for the discount, you'll save about $75. So by all means, ask for that if you book a room at the Hilton. And the code would be Ferron. That's my last name, Fearon. And you use that and you'll save $75 a night. So you're probably saying, Rick, what's it going to be like at the convention? Well, I'll kind of give you a little preview. When we were Jehovah's Witnesses, I used to like going to a convention or an assembly, didn't you? And meeting new people. And, it was kind of boring, some of the talks, but I'll guarantee you this. There'll be no talks at our ex-Jehovah's Witness convention that's boring. You are going to be on the edge of your seat. We've got a number of speakers already lined up that will be in person. We hopefully all goes well. Barbara Anderson, we all know her. She's going to be up here in person in Boston. As a matter of fact, we're also going to have Fritz Springmeier. Well, we know Fritz. He wrote the book, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And then we also have a woman coming in from Kentucky. She is the lead professor of AI, artificial intelligence. She'll be coming up and explaining to us how the Watchtower organization is now using AI. So that's something that's going to be an interesting talk. Plus, we also have a talk that's going to be given by two people that have been trafficked, sexually trafficked in the Watchtower when they were young girls. Friends, this is not a joke. This is serious. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, those 6 screen sensationalizers. This is not sensationalism. This is something that happened. We're going to have two women, I should say, tell us what happened to them at the convention. And we do have a woman hopefully coming on tonight that will be speaking at the convention. She's going to give us a little preview of how she was trafficked. So that's going to be later in our news if all goes well. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be in our 8 o'clock hour. So try to stay on our program tonight. I believe if you do, you'll find it very fascinating. And if you can call in, by all means, you see the telephone number. By all means, do that as well. So I'm just getting excited. I think you guys are getting excited too about the convention. It's really going to be a marvelous time to have all these people come together and share thoughts. And what was it like? I mean, when we were witnesses, pretty much we were all in unison with one another. But to be able to actually listen in to what's going on in the world of Watchtower by hundreds of people that are coming and how their life has been affected, I think you'll find it very, very fascinating. So anyways, I'm glad you're with us. We got a lot to talk about here tonight, as we normally do. We will be playing, if all goes well, we will be playing our game tonight. Our game is moved up to about 9 o'clock or so. So if you can stay on till 8:30, 9 o'clock tonight, it would be good if you could, and you'll be able to play the game and win some prizes, win some books, win some cash. So that can happen tonight right here. I'm just going over now, checking, trying to find my, hold on one second, just trying to find our conference call number here. Where did that go? Okay, if anyone's on the line, if you could just speak up, that would help me. Hit *6, and I can tell if you're on the line with us, okay? Hit *6. I have a new studio here tonight, so there might be a few snafus here or there. But if you are on right now and you can speak up, go ahead.
I can hear you, Rick.
Okay, that's good, Susan. What I'm trying to do here is get into the, I do have a new computer set up here, so I'm just wondering if we could be heard. So evidently we are, so that's good. Excuse me. Yeah, what happens when you change studios over and you go from one place to another? I'm just looking for my conference call tab, which I cannot find for some reason. Why, I don't know. Usually it's right there, but.
You need the number?
I'm sorry?
Do you need the number?
No, I have the number. I'm just trying to find it on my computer screen. So if anyone comes in, if friends, okay, well, we'll try to play around with it as we go along here tonight. But I just wanted to bring up that as long as you guys can hear me, that's fine. And if you want to speak up, you can hit *6. That will bring you in. But I just wanted to mention that, I come on every week and I tell you about the Watchtower collapsing. And it's fair to say that, we're not looking through rose-colored glasses here. Everyone can see it. Not only you, if you're a PMO, and you're kind of getting out of the Watchtower, you still don't want to be found out about. But just to be upfront and candid, everyone knows the Watchtower is collapsing. Even people that are PMEs, they're realizing that something is not right anymore. And did you know that the Watchtower right now is experiencing very difficult times with the PMEs and also new people coming in? A lot of the young people, they love the idea now that you can have beards, now that the women can wear pantsuits and slacks. They love the idea that you really don't have to report time anymore. So we have a lot of the older baby boomer Jehovah's Witnesses. They're really feeling like they're being attacked by the younger ones in the organization. And, they're trying to explain to the younger ones that it always wasn't this way. One time the Watchtower had strict rules on this. But in the last couple of years, year and a half, we know the Watchtower has changed the rules drastically. So consequently, what's been happening is creating some friction in the organization. So we have the younger witnesses in somewhat of a feud with the older witnesses. And if I was still a Jehovah's Witness, I would be concerned. Like perhaps you're an older one listening into this program tonight, and you'd be concerned as well that, for many years you couldn't have a beard. If you were a sister, you couldn't wear slacks. We had to every month report our time, how many houses or how many back calls we made, how many Bible studies we had. You don't have to do that anymore. I mean, wouldn't you kind of be ticked off and say, well, I was doing that for years? So some people listening into this program, they may have been a witness for 40, 50 years. And now all of a sudden, in the stroke of a pen or a talk given on jw.org, that all of a sudden things have changed. Don't you think that would rattle your cage a little bit? Well, it has. It's rattled the cage of many former Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, not former ones, but people that are in the Watchtower right now and are loyal witnesses, I should say. So here you go. Constant battle. Now we have, the Watchtower we know has always had different classes, right? The Jonadab class, the other sheep, the anointed. They've always played around with these different classes. Well, they're going to start probably having different classes, the older witnesses and the new witnesses. There's a clash, as we say, going on. So will this distance a lot of people from the Watchtower? It really could. It really could do that. So only time will tell. But I wanted to bring that up. But not only that, the Watchtower, as we've been mentioning right along here for the last... Yes, Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. Just a quick thought on exactly the point that you just said, almost a old age or cultural difference. Now, think about the disfellowshipping. If a person was disfellowshipped, they'd sit out there, they'd almost have to beg to be reinstated, go into meeting after meeting, probably turn down, sit out, minimum 6 months, a year, 2 years, depending upon, what it is. I knew somebody, as I mentioned a million times, he was out for 18 years and they just refused to, let him back in. Now and by the way, elders never went out to disfellowship people to encourage them back. I asked the Kobe about this one kid that was disfellowship, and I asked that very question. Did anybody ever go out and contact him and try to encourage him to come back? And the look that I got from those elders, like, I wish I would go out here trying to bring it. If they want to come back, they know how to come back. That was basically always their answer. And now all of a sudden, because their numbers are so low, they're out trying to actively bring back and recruit disfellowship one. So how would I feel if I was a disfellowship one? And now all of a sudden I had to sit out and almost beg to be back in a very nasty treatment, that you met just trying to get reinstated. And now all of a sudden they're out begging people to come back to Jehovah. That would make me angry as well.
Yeah, so I know you're not a spring chicken, Stephen, but I know you're still a relatively young man. But if you went back in the Watchtower now, or if you still were, say, a loyal witness, you'd be upset, right? As you're saying.
I'd be very upset. And this thing with the beards, it's pretty funny. I mean, I can only imagine somebody who's a non-witness listening to conversations about beards, and they would never really get the point. But to be brought up in this organization from the age of 3, and like you said, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm not necessarily an old man. But in any event, to be told all that time that you got to dress like this, and you can't have a beard, and your hair needs to be like this. We could never go to a meeting without a shirt and a tie. When I was a kid, that shirt had to be only white and blue. It had to be long sleeve. Better not come in there with a short sleeve shirt. And when you go out in the ministry, you better be wearing a jacket, and it didn't matter if it was 100 degrees outside. Now all of a sudden you can be out there in a short sleeve and no tie, and you can have a beard. It's really angry how we weren't allowed to do things, just normal, basic, everyday things, and told that you couldn't do those things. They try to find some scripture, and so now all those things they could just make an about face on, and now you can do them. So yeah, it's angry because you realize that you just essentially wasted many years of your life not doing things that you wanted to do for no solid reason. just the whims of some organization who decided that they didn't want people wearing the beards. Now it's okay because we need to try to get some people back. So yeah, be very angry. And something else that I found this out. There was an individual, and apparently he was married to a sister that I knew, not well, but I knew her. And whatever reason, the marriage kind of dissolved. And a few years later, he wound up marrying someone who wasn't a witness. So when I transferred into my very last congregation that I ever attended, this gentleman was there. He was trying to be reinstated. I didn't know him, but there was always a little bit of rumors about him. He was no good and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, whatever. And then eventually they let him back in. And I heard an elder say, if it was up to me, I would never let this person in. But he's back, but he'll never be used. Well, guess who was made an elder about this time last year? The same particular brother. And I just kind of got a chuckle out of all the things that they used to say in the past, and you used to feel, and I'm not saying those feelings were right, because obviously they weren't. But what an about face this organization had to make to try to keep the people that they have and keep new ones. Now they're using people that they heretofore would never have used. But the numbers are so low, scraping the bottom of the barrel, that, they've got to use these people. So it's quite comical. But imagine if you were that guy and you had been there trying to be a ministry or servant, trying to be an elder for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and every trick in the book they use to keep you from getting to that position. But then when the numbers get so low, all of a sudden, you get made an elder. You'd probably be excited if there's something that you really wanted, but I suspect that in the back of your mind, you'd be thinking, you're only putting me in this position because you don't have anybody else. And that shouldn't make anybody feel good. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Stefan. No, the other thing, too, that I'm thinking about as you're talking is, if they told us before that it was Bible-based, which Jehovah's Witness organization is supposed to be, by the way, I think we all realize that. It's all Bible-based. All the information's coming from Jehovah God, the ruler of the universe, and he was the one that told the witness organization that men couldn't have beards and that women couldn't wear slacks. And he's the one that said that one had to record their time. And now all of a sudden they changed that. The first thing I would think of, being a godly-minded people, is, well, I mean, if they got this from Jehovah, does Jehovah change his mind? Really? That's not doable. So, just based on that alone.
Just read my mind.
Did I read your mind, Pixie?
Yeah, just read my mind. If you could, Stefan is coming clear as a bell and very loud. If you could pod your mic up just one tad, because it all sounds great, but you could be a little bit louder, and it's not ego. We just need to balance the show. One more tad from you, please.
So you want me to go a little higher? My volume's not coming through too loud?
Just a bit.
Oh, all right, let me take a look here. Let me get right in there right now, Pixie. Thank you for telling me. We're in a new studio here. Let me just check my mic here and see if we can't get that up a little bit louder for us. I'm going to turn this up here.
I'll tell you one more thing while you're adjusting your mic, right in the context of what we're talking about, with respect to this ministry. Again, I've been associated with Jehovah's Witnesses since the age of 3. Every single Saturday, every single Sunday, without exception, unless there are some extraordinary circumstances or you were sick, you were going to be out in that ministry. Every Saturday, every Sunday.
I hear you, Stephen. I hear you.
Then when school is out, every single day of your summer break, you're going to be in that ministry. The same thing for the winter break, and it didn't make a difference if it was below zero or not. All of that time that we spent doing that, and now you ask yourself the question, why? And now that the ministry is just completely deprecated. Check a box and
give your inner child an extra hot bath and an extra Saturday treat, and go out for brunch.
There you go.
I hear you, honey.
Well, you got.
When I just thought about that when Rick was talking about the older ones in confrontation with the young ones. See, the young ones may not understand that because they're coming in at a
they understand very little.
We did just like when the organization first started. I mean, you think about those coal porters and the number of hours that they spent. They sent these poor people all over the country, essentially with no support. And they were out there, And if they were still alive, which none of them, I don't think would be, but if they were still alive just to see all the work that we did, and now all you need to do is check a box, I'm sure they'd be angry.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Rick.
Let me see how Rick is sounding here, please, dear.
I brought it up a little bit more, Pixie. Maybe that's a little better, I hope.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Perfection on a plate. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, Kurt, I think we get Kurt coming in. Go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, just a minute. I'm sorry. Thank you for taking my call, and Pixie and Stefan as well. Your studio looks really good. You were talking about the Jonadab class. I just wanted to mention briefly the change. You guys remember many decades ago that the Jehu and Jonadab class, Rutherford thought that up. But what I want to mention, sometime recently, the governing body, one of the governing body members mentioned, you probably know more about than I do, that the use of types and anti-types was no longer going to be one of the things that they did in their writings. You know better than I know, Rick, that types and anti-types were used by the Watchtower in a big way. And I think, I haven't been reading the Watchtower in a long time or any of the publications, but I think the use of types and anti-types, like you mentioned earlier, the Jonadab class, and the two classes in general, that doctrine in general, is not going to be, or the use of specifically of types and anti-types was going to be, I guess, pretty much stopped. So again, if that's true, if I'm right about that, that would be a change in the way they go about things. But thank you for taking my call, and your studio looks really good. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Kurt. Thank you. Yeah, no, the Jonadab class, and well, there's other classes as well in the Watchtower. They're really not pushing that like they were back in the Rutherford days. Back then, you had the Jonadabs. Of course, you had the Ruth class. You had the Rutherford. Of course, he kind of divided the whole organization. He was the one that really came up with this idea of the 144,000, and only 144,000 basically would go to heaven. This man was a complete crazy man, and the Watchtower has been crazy ever since. They never really recovered. But you know what I'm telling you? Well, what I'm seeing here is really remarkable because I don't know if you noticed or not, but on JW Broadcasting and a lot of the magazines, the new magazine articles from the Watchtower, they're talking about forgiving. Boy, I'll tell you, there's been a number of articles in the last month about forgiveness and how we all should forgive one another. And I'm thinking out loud that, I always tell you folks what cults do, and the Jehovah's Witness organization is a cult. And I tell you what a cult does. Well, what a cult will do is they will tell you before they tell you, and then they will tell you while they're telling you, and then they will tell you what they told you. Did you follow that? That's what a cult does. So right now, what I feel, did you want to say something? Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Stefan. So what the Watchtower is doing right now, at least in my way of thinking with these articles, a number of them, I counted at least 3, dealing with forgiveness and how we should be forgiving. I'm saying, why, one article will be enough on forgiveness. I mean, you're going to beat this subject to death or what? But I'm thinking the Watchtower is telling us, or the Watchtower loyal witnesses, the Watchtower is telling the witnesses before they tell them that we're going to have to forgive the governing body. Now, you can do what you want with this, but this is what I'm thinking, that, you've been noticing, we talked about it last week on JW World News, in New York, there was a child abuse case. And now, who is being named as the defendants in the case are the individual governing body members. Did you know that? I think you knew it. It's pretty much all over the internet. But just to give you a little more information on this, they're actually, the Watchtower wants the governing body members, all of them, to come to court. They'll summons them. The Watchtower drags their feet. They might not, the big cheese might not go. They'll be fine. But let's just assume they do go. Let's just assume that they do go to court and they are found guilty. Now, we talked about this a little last week, but I got to bring it up again. The Watchtower organization, see, they don't want to be responsible for child abuse. And if they're dragged into court, what they always bring up to the court and the jury is the fact that the Watchtower is not a hierarchical organization. That is a bald-faced lie. Now, hierarchical, I believe everybody knows what it is, but if you don't, what a hierarchy organization or a hierarchical organization is it rules from the top down. In other words, you've got the Watchtower organization. That would be the governing body or the administration. Then you have the governing body. Then you have branch servants. Then you have circuit servants. Then you have elders. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I'm not sure what the music was, folks, but I'll keep an eye on that. It was coming out of Chicago. I don't know what was going on there. It might have been Stefan having some music on. But anyways, getting back to our thought on hierarchy. So the Watchtower is going to go into court. They're going to say, look, this happened. The elders allowed it. The elders have their own little position that they take, and we're not responsible for what happened. But let's just say the governing body is found responsible and they are found guilty in court. What is going to happen? Well, what is the witness world going to think? They're going to, that's why I think they're asking for forgiveness already. They're actually telling you before they tell you that there could be problems for the governing body. But that's just my thoughts, friends. I'm not, don't take it to the bank and cash it. But what I try to do is read between the lines. I try not to run ahead. But this is just very strange to have, a number of articles about forgiveness. Are they telling us before they tell us? And then when they are indicted, we all wish they would be. I mean, we can wish, right? And it could happen. And then what happens is they'll be telling us while they're telling us, well, the governing body did plead guilty. That sounds so preposterous, right? I mean, I can't imagine the governing body pleading guilty, but I don't know. I couldn't imagine that they'd start letting brothers wearing beards either. I couldn't imagine that they would start eliminating reporting time. Really? So the Watchtower is changing. Sometimes what I think, and I'm sure there's some out there will get in my camp. I'm not totally in it all the way. But sometimes I think the Watchtower is deliberately trying to lose members. Yeah, you heard me right. Deliberately trying to lose members. It's expensive. Now, even though they don't have to pay the workers, the Bethelites, money every week, they don't give them a paycheck. But I'm thinking that what happens is it costs to house people. It costs to feed them. It costs to give them a place to live, electricity, air conditioning, heating. So it's kind of like a drag on the Watchtower. And I'm thinking in a subtle way, they're purposely trying to get people out. I mean, you can do what you want with it. Sometimes I feel that, but then there's other little tidbits of information that does seem they want to gain more. But, let's face it. If you're an organization that had lawsuits up the gazoo, and you're saying, man, how many more lawsuits can we take? Wouldn't you just want to say, look, let's just grab the money, let's shut the thing down, let's forget about it. I mean, that's what a normal business would do. And the Watchtower is a business. So maybe they're thinking this. Let's just kind of cool it. But see, you have to do what you have to do. I mean, it's a religious organization. And, business organizations, like a religious organization, they have to be run in a certain fashion. You just can't say, okay, we quit. You got to go slow with it. Did you want to say something? Is that Dick or Constance? Go ahead, you run with us.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I kind of take a different slant on it. I just don't know. I'm going to be guessing like everybody else. But yeah, I got two phones on here. Sorry. Yeah, Rick, my thinking is that disfellowshipping causes so much problems for the Watchtower. I think they're telling us before they tell us that they're going to start reinstating everyone who wants to be reinstated. They did this back in the 80s. A lot of people don't remember that because they only did it for like 6 months. And then they reversed themselves again. And to your point about the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit was wrong, or then it was right, then it was wrong. And they're just so crazy. The only spirit that runs that organization is Satan, the devil. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to soften up the disfellowshipping. If anybody wants to come back in, they're going to welcome back in, and that's my gut feeling on it. Also, I mean, if they're trying to get rid of members, well, that's how they get a lot of money. How they really make the bulk of their money is when people die and leave their estate to the Watchtower. And a lot of loyal Jehovah's Witnesses do that. That's just my guess, Rick.
Yeah, well, it's a good guess. I mean, we're all guessing. I'm not telling you I know for sure. But, they do give a report every year on how much the organization spends on circuit overseers and how much it spends on expenses to house and work with people. Now, last year, I believe the number was 24 million. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but somewhere around there. So, you're talking that's a sizable chunk of change. And then you say, well, what does it really cost to feed someone today? I mean, food's not cheap. We know that. My goodness gracious, we all go to the grocery store. We can see it. So they buy food. I know this for a fact because I know the buyer of food at the Watchtower. He probably won't speak to me now. But the last time I talked to him, they buy premium food. They don't get junk food. They buy from Cisco. Did you ever hear of Cisco? You see their trailer trucks around. Cisco Foods. They sell to high-end restaurants. So the Watchtower, I can't imagine what their food bill would be. My goodness. And then you got electricity. But just a thought. But then also there's something that always pops up in my mind when I think about this, because I can go in different directions. But there's another thing that's totally disturbing to me, and that has to deal with the Watchtower back in 2013. Was it 2013? Yeah, when we first heard this, that, the governing body, even though they might say something that's not sensible, just go along with it. Well, we're progressing along now. We're like, 8 years ahead, and there's more foolish things coming out. And if you were a loyal witness back in 2013, in the May edition, I believe it was, of the Watchtower, and you read a statement from the governing body, you could say, because they oversee the whole writings of the Watchtower, that you're going to hear some things that don't sound logical from a human standpoint, but just go along with what you hear. I mean, does that disturb you? Does it? I mean, is that unsettling?
Yeah, Rick, it does.
Yeah.
It disturbs me quite a bit because we are human, and there's no other standpoint that a human can have whatever human. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, see, I always use
the most culty thing they've ever said. That's very culty and very controlling of people's. What does the scripture say? Use the spirit of a sound mind. That's totally counter to scripture.
Yeah, well, Pixie, the first thing that pops to mind, when I think about extreme cult leaders, well, one man I think of is Charles Manson. Now, can you think of the night, just hypothesizing here, that man with his cult operatives went into Sharon Tate. She was a movie star, went into her house and killed her. They broke in and killed her. But
It's a terrible thing, and he had those people bamboozled, hypnotized, drugged, and convinced, and he had been a prisoner in a prison system since he was a teenager. He was a very bad man, for those too young to remember, but he used many, many cult tactics on those girls to get them to do his bidding, and they spent life in prison for those horrible crimes of some very nice young stars.
And, I'm thinking, just thinking out loud. I mean, I'm not going to put words in Charles Manson's mouth, but just imagine he says to those girls or those cult people that were with him that night that killed Sharon Tate. So, I mean, I'm just thinking, what would the conversation be like? Now, girls, don't you worry. We're going to go into Sharon's house and we're going to kill her. Now, I know that doesn't sound sensible. It doesn't sound reasonable from a human standpoint, but that's what we're going to do. That echoes through the framework of
I hate to bring it up, but Manson had some end time notions too. He used all kinds of philosophies, including very similar to witness ideas, to hurt some people that were very good. And I think the greengrocer that was killed might have been a witness. I'm not sure, but there were some very nice people that were murdered, and he used all kinds of techniques. He's a good. If you want to study cult techniques, look deeper at that case and look deeper at Jim Jones. And it's very important to use your own spirit of a sound mind, your own gut feeling, and your own common sense to flee from things that don't make sense. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that's a mouthful, Pixie. And what we got here. Now, listen, we have, I'm going to tell you, it's not just me saying it. I've had so many people tell me that the 6 screens, they have intelligent people that call in. That's not me just trying to, make some type of a statement to get listeners. I've had people tell me that. Geez, Rick, those callers calling into the 6 screens. I've had people listen in, like some doctors, for example. Some of my business associates have said, Rick, what do you do? And I tell them I do this radio program on the weekends. Well, let me listen to it. So I give it to them. Then they come back. They say, geez, Rick, you got smart people calling in there. So, that's a good thing. So we can we have the power of reason. And when I hear a statement to believe something, even though it doesn't sound logical, I like to think in logics, friends. Do you like to think in logics? I mean, I think that's,
And also use the spirit of a sound mind. And also those of us that were born in and spent a lot of time, we need to take Thursday night and have an extra hot bath, an extra waffle, an extra hour of sleep, because there's so much about self-care. It doesn't mean buying champagne or expensive lipstick. It means rest, a nice hot bath, and taking care of your body with a little stretching and exercise and water. It's just basics. We were run through hoops from childhood on and didn't really learn to take care of the self. So that's my message for this week.
Well, good message, Pixie. I'm just going to make a call here. I got a call. I'm waiting for hold on one second. I'm going to call this person back. It might be a person that will be coming on the program. So I'm going to call back and see who the person was. And let's see what that was. I'm calling right now because we have a person coming on the program tonight that I wanted to make sure we get her on. I'm calling the number now and see if that's them or not. I'm not sure who this person was. I get a lot of calls even during the program. So let me just make sure that it wasn't a person trying to come on. Hello? 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 Okay, in fact, is this? Oh, yeah, hold on, Jenny. I'll have to call you back. I'm on the radio program, okay?
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Well, that was just my daughter. I thought it was. We have a lady that's going to be coming on the program tonight in the 8 o'clock hour, if all goes well. And she's going to be coming to the convention up in Boston, the ex-Jehovah's Witness convention that we're going to have up in Boston. So we're looking forward to that. But she hasn't totally committed herself tonight. It's kind of last notice, but I think she'll be coming in hopefully around on our 8 o'clock hour, and she wants to talk about how she was trafficked in the Watchtower, human trafficking, sex trafficking, when she was a young girl. So we're looking forward to that. Okay, so anyways, getting back to that, if it's not logical, why do people believe it? And even I'm even thinking, what's not logical to me? Now think about this. Do you think that the people who run the Watchtower are good business people? I don't think they are. I really don't. Do I think they're smart people? No, I don't. I really don't. I'm not just saying that because I have a distaste toward the Watchtower, but they're not smart. What organization would make a stupid statement like that? I don't know. I mean, would you even say that to a friend? I'm going to tell you something, Johnny, that it's not going to sound logical to you from a human standpoint, but I want you to believe what I got to say. I mean, would you take that? I don't think you would. And here is a religious organization that comes out and says that. This is not sensible. This is not sensible. All right, let's take a look here. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains. I find the work. I saw this on a JW site on the internet, where loyal Jehovah's Witnesses actually come together and chat, and they're getting exhausted. This one particular pioneer was writing that she's exhausted. She can't take it anymore. I mean, between, witnessing, even though you don't have to report time, they still kind of push you to do it. But she's exhausted getting to the meetings, going out in service as a pioneer. Can you imagine what that's like today? Can you imagine the drudgery of being a pioneer in the Jehovah's Witness organization? Knocking on doors, wheeling a cart around. If you think we had it bad, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, of course, Satan, the devil, he kicked me out back in 2005. But prior to that, I used to go door to door. I didn't necessarily like it, but I did it. There's a lot of people that don't like it. But, can you imagine a young sister in the Jehovah's Witness organization going door to door, knocking on doors all over the place, getting doors slammed on you? And also you got all these perverts behind the doors making rude, sexy comments to you. I mean, how could you take it? No. And it's dangerous as well. It's very dangerous being one of Jehovah's Witnesses today in service. So what really is the end result? Well, the end result is the witnesses. I'm starting to hear this in more than one place. This isn't the first comment I read about the Jehovah's Witness, active Jehovah's Witnesses being exhausted. I mean, you were exhausted back then, right? Now, obviously, they let some of the rules lighten up a little bit, but it's still exhausting. I think it's exhausting. If you went to school, let's just go with this. If you were going to school and you didn't learn anything, your teacher did not give you any tidbit of information that was redeeming. Everything they said was just foolish. That's exhausting in itself. And that's what used to exhaust me. When I went to meetings, I couldn't even get a tidbit of information. I mean, can you remember some of the talks that people gave? And, they give a lot of talks from the Old Testament, right? A lot of talks from the Old Testament, more talks from the Old Testament back then than the New Testament. They don't want you to know the New Testament. Why would they want you to know that? Why would they want you to be in the New Covenant? And you're not. If you're just a Jehovah's Witness that has the hope of living on earth, you're not in any covenant at all. And if you know what the word testament means, it means covenant. So they don't really do much in the New Testament, even though they give talks on the New Testament, but way more in the Old Testament. But, I can remember one talk, and this is why the meetings were so boring. Do you remember the talk on Meshibboleth? Do you remember that? I believe he was he on Potiphar? Potiphar, I think, was the cook in Pharaoh's court or whatever. I mean, this type of stuff, it's just not even, of any interest. It has no socially redeeming value, if you want to go with that. I don't want to hear about Meshivalev, a Potiphar. I would like to hear about the Apostle Paul. I would like to hear about the Son of Thunder, John, the Apostle. I'd like to understand his and learn his ways of dealing, not Potiphar and Meshivalev. But that's what they would do. That's how they would cover up the truth from the Bible. But this is what I'm saying. If you go to the meetings and you're going to hear this foolishness, boy, that makes you tired. If you're hearing something that's edifying, something that's rewarding, something you can say when you leave the meeting, wow, I actually learned something. I feel very good. I'm hitting myself on the door. I'm hitting the doorpost on the way out. How many times have you hit the doorpost on the way out being one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Never. I used to go home disgusted, really. Really, I'd say, boy, what was the use going to that meeting tonight? There was nothing even worth going to. You didn't learn anything. But the witnesses right now are getting exhausted. This is starting to really look at. I'll give you a simple analogy or illustration. If you were a salesperson, if someone hired you, hey, John, I want you to sell some of these products. This is a good product. I want you to take this product and I want you to go out there in the field and I want you to sell it. So John took the product and he went out and he knocked on one door and a person bought it, knocked on the next door, a person bought it. Well, that made John feel really good. John goes, wow, I like this. I'm getting some sales. But can you imagine a pioneer today knocking on doors, people slamming them? No one's even talking to them. I mean, that's hard work. I mean, the salesman would quit, right? John would quit if he made no sales. The Jehovah's Witness pioneers and witnesses, they're making no sales. I can remember even back in 2005, I can remember, I'd go out every Saturday like clockwork. I'd be out, spend 3 hours in the service. And I can remember at the end of the day at noontime, I can remember that we drive around in a van. I had a van, and also another brother did, but I'll drive around with a bunch of witnesses in it. And at noontime, when we stopped witnessing, I can remember it so many times back then, and they would say, well, we didn't place anything. We didn't get to talk to anybody. But isn't it encouraging being with one another? Isn't Jehovah wonderful? At least we're encouraging one another. That was a conversation many a times I had while I was a Jehovah's Witness. So maybe that also happened to you. So they're getting exhausted, friends. I think it's a good sign. Well, what happens when people get exhausted and tired? They quit. That's what happens when people get exhausted and tired. They really, really do. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I totally agree with you. When I was a kid, one of the points Watchtower used to hammer home was how these other religions weren't teaching their parishioners anything. I remember a circuit overseer saying that across the stage. But we were so spiritually fed, and we were taught so many things, we were just busting at the seams. And now it's the complete opposite, exactly the point that you just made. You leave a meeting and you ask yourself, what did I learn? What did I just spend the last 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours if I include, driving there and shaving and all that? What did I just accomplish in the last 3 hours? This thing was about absolutely nothing. And it even got to be that way as I was starting to wake up and before I left, even with the CO visit. We weren't talking about anything of any kind of substance. I was one of those guys that took diligent notes, I'd have my notepad out. The circuit overseer would step on the stage. I'd have my notepad out. I brought a couple of pens just in case one of them malfunctioned. And I looked down at my notes as the years went on, and I had less and less notes for a circuit overseer visit, and the same thing for the assemblies. And then I remember the last circuit overseer visit, I literally wrote down the title of his talk and not one other word after. The point that I'm making to your point was we weren't being taught anything. And then one thing that just kind of dawned on me, I had a relative that was in a nursing home, and being a witness, she had a major GI issue, couldn't take blood. So as she started to slowly recover, they would have to take her food and grind it up and puree it. And I said to myself, we're not getting quote unquote spiritual food anymore. We're getting spiritual puree. There's no substance to anything that we're learning anymore. And all of these things started to build up. And that was one of the major reasons why I left. So let's hope that this is the same type of buildup that's happening to these witnesses now. They're realizing they're not being taught a thing, and that, quite frankly, this is a waste of time. Maybe they'll get fed up and leave as well.
Well, that's the sign. I've talked about the 5 stages of a business collapse, and the Watchtower is a business, and that's one of them. That's one of the stages right there. When the employees start saying, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired. Nothing's happening. Nothing's rewarding. Someone else want to speak up? Go ahead. You're on with us. Okay. All right. We can move on to another thought here. Did you see this month's broadcast? Do you watch JW streaming? Their videos they put up every month? Well, I can't help but be totally disgusted at the implications of this 2-part broadcast regarding how one is to take care of the aged parents. Now, here we have the Watchtower telling its witnesses to take care of your aged parents. Now, we have, well, I mean, do you really think that? What's that? What's okay? All right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he's a drunken Bethelite or who that guy. Yeah.
Rick,
Yeah.
King of the Dog.
Yes, King.
My dad turns 94 in a week, and he's still driving. He won't get hearing aids. He can't hear hardly anything we say. He admitted to me like 6 months ago he's been knocking mirrors off other people's cars. All I can say is old people fight tooth and nail to keep going. And that's why you got a prominent Watchtower. You got the same damn thing. You got a bunch of old blubs who will not give up the power. And they're causing massive destruction because they're completely incompetent. I know that sounds cruel, but guess what? What's cruel is what they're doing to everybody in the organization. And I can't seem to stop my dad. I've got 6 younger siblings. My sister lives a block away from him, and I have no intention of causing disruption with all of them, becoming the bad guy and trying to stop my dad. I'm just hoping that he'll get in a lesser accident and the police will take his license away, because he has no intention stopping it. And there's nobody on that damn governing body has any intention of getting a grip on reality, that they don't know what the hell they're doing. They really don't. They don't hear anybody. They need hearing aids. Rick, do you think the drunken Bethelites are out tonight?
I thought one just came on, but I think he was just a disoriented caller. We get those once in a while, you know.
I'm going to only do one poem tonight, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's the one I did a month and a half ago. It's called Bedtime Story for Drunken Bethelites. Okay, I'll go ahead and do it. I can barely read my writing. My index finger, my right hand is cut off the top of it. So my writing's so bad that I can't. People tell me I'm a doctor, but I just stayed at the Holiday Inn, apparently. But I'm going to read this one. The Fruit Loopians, they weren't as small as the Lilliputians, but they compensated by being very mean. Even though they claimed to be kings of the earth, their whole reality was wrapped up around you believing it and treating them accordingly. The emperor had no clothes, but the Fruit Loopians had no brains. Simply saying you're a king Does not a king make you? People laughed. People ignored their frequent knocks at the door. This lack of deserved recognition began to make them meaner. They responded by being extremer, and the congregation didn't get any cleaner. And soon their millions now living became a shrinking herd of lemmings. In fact, today, they are smaller than the Lilliputians in every way. But to feel bigger, they lie and use twisted wordplay because they think they can actually still trick God in you into making them king one day. What's that squeak on the floor? Rick, you hear that? I can't hear it anymore. There's your bedtime story for the drunken Bethelites. And drink some more.
Well, group Lupians. Where'd you come up with that?
It was on a box of cereal.
Well, you're original. I will say that you're original, King of Dots. Listen, don't you ever change. You just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, don't you change too, man?
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you always coming on and giving us your poem. That's nice of you. Thank you.
There you go. I got 100 more.
All right.
I'm not going to bother people with that because I've been told I'm taking over the world with my poems. I predicted the American Pope,
Yeah.
last week. So, yeah.
All right.
That's the only credit I want. I predicted the American Pope. I'll talk at y'all.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, that's King of Dots. Yeah. So anyways, what we were talking about was the Watchtower audit, a two-part broadcast for May on the jw.org broadcasting. And they're talking about how, one is to take care of their aging parents. First of all, I was a Jehovah's Witness for 50 years. I seen people in the world take better care of their aging parents than Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses, it disgusts me when I stop and think about it, but I'm just going to give you two examples that I know of right off the top of my head. And it has to do with, okay, let's go with my wife right now. Let's go with Susan, my beautiful wife. And, she had two children, two daughters, beautiful daughters as well. And they were loyal witnesses, and they would go out in service and spend all kinds of time trying to get people they don't even know come to Jehovah. I'll come and study with you. I'll spend time with you. I'll go shopping for you. I'll do whatever I have to do. And if you're going to become a Jehovah's Witness, you're my kind of a person. But what about your mother? Now, this happened with Susan. The daughters didn't pay much attention to poor Susan. And then I also think of my first wife, Inez. The same thing with her. She was very unhealthy near the time of her death. And, she really couldn't do too much. And my daughters were pioneers. They were loyal pioneers. And here Inez was sick. They wouldn't even say, Ma, can we make you a cup of tea? Can we get you anything? No, we're going out in service. Going to go out in service and knock on doors and talk to complete people. They have no idea who they even are. And at the same time, disregard their parents. Now, these were Jehovah's Witness girls. So we have not an article, but a broadcasting segment telling the witnesses how to really take care of their aging parents. But then I also think, does that make a person who doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness? I mean, will the children still take care of you? Is there some signal that's given off in the witness world that says if your mother and father don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses, just drop them like a lead balloon? Have nothing to do with them. Now, I never read an article like that in the Watchtower, but they seem to do that. So if you're a parent and you have a number of children and you leave the Watchtower and they're all witnesses, they have nothing to do with you. A good example of that is Fran and Joe, that we all know and love. They have children and they drop them like a lead balloon. So are they paying attention to the May broadcast of jw.org on how you have to a two-part video on how to take care of your aging parents. In fact, Fran and Joe have a hard time even getting a word out of their children because they left the Watchtower. And I'm sure you're probably, if you're a parent too and have children that are still in and you left the Watchtower, your children probably have nothing to do with you either. So that's how it happens. That's how it all happens. So, I mean, this is true. But now I'm thinking, what a heinous, evil organization. Even though they never come out in print in a Watchtower article and say don't have anything to do with your parents if they're not a Jehovah's Witness. But we know they mean it. We know that it's implied that if your parents were at one time Jehovah's Witnesses and they left and your other children, you still believe in the Watchtower, they're not going to talk to you. So all these articles, oh, be nice to your parents, watch over your aging parents. What a crock of baloney. See, this is how evil the organization is. Children disconnecting from their parents simply because the parents don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. Has that happened to you? Have you been discarded? Have you been troubled over this? Well, probably you have been. It's really a crying shame what the Watchtower does to families. The Watchtower is a destructive, dangerous cult. And they have broken families up all around the world. They have caused so many problems for so many people. Well, you're on JW World News. And tonight, right around 9 o'clock tonight, we have got Eric coming in. Of course, he's a former Jehovah's Witness. And he has a program on our network called Awakening After the Watchtower. And Eric will be coming on, like I say, around 9 o'clock tonight. And he has a special program tonight. Now, something big happened in Eric's world in the last week. Something really big. And he wants to share that with you tonight on his program, Awakening After the Watchtower. So we'll be coming on tonight around 9 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. And he has a very special guest coming on as well. So tune in to Eric tonight, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. All right. So before we move on, does anyone have any thoughts? Does anyone have any feelings about not being loved by your children because you left the Watchtower and they're still in? I'm sure there's plenty out there listening to the program tonight. We got a lot of people that are listening in, but I guess maybe maybe you're being treated okay. Let me just double check here, make sure all right. Let me just check a few things here. Yeah, we're still broadcasting. I just want to make sure. I'm in a new studio, so when I don't hear too much going on, it's hard to really know. But what I did want to bring up too is another thing. You know, what I try to bring you here every week on the Six Screens is what is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And one of the things that I'm coming to grips with, with the serious problem we have of housing, people being homeless in this country. And that is a known fact. I mean, I don't know where you live, but up here where I live, there's a lot of homeless people. And the people can't afford to live in a home anymore. It's so expensive. Where I live, the average rent for even a place in a bad part of town is going to run you $2,500 a month. And anything even halfway decent is going to be $3,000 a month, and it goes up from there. Now, the question I have is, how do you think the Jehovah's Witnesses are faring through all of this? I mean, these guys, for the most part, have given their life to the Watchtower. They forewent getting good jobs, good careers, going to school. So the jobs they have are somewhat menial, and they don't make a lot of money. So now I'm starting to hear that a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are going homeless. And yeah, they're sleeping in their car. A lot of the witnesses are kind of sleeping at each other's houses just to have a place to stay. They don't have the money that, college graduates, skilled people have, because the Watchtower never encouraged you to get a good job. They never encouraged you to go to.
Hey Rick, it's Jeff McClure. I am the one who prank calls you. I am drunk and I am a Bethelite, but you're a fucking pedophile piece of shit. I work at McDonald's. I don't even know where I got the Steel Reserve prick. I think it was left over from the Bethelite bathhouse orgy. I blacked out halfway through pretending to be Stephen Lett's cousin with a pot.
Oh, there you go. Well, one of the drunken Bethelites. At least he gave us. At least he gave us. Yeah. Well, you see, that's what you get from these guys. Yeah.
The conference has been locked. I haven't really learned how to insult or gossip.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Never meant to resent her, but love doesn't.
The conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
Yeah. This is what. Yeah. See, this is what we have to.
My wife.
The conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
Then came the first flare up. Hands trembling, legs buckling.
Yeah. Just give us a second here, friends. The drunken Bethelites, the drunken Bethelites are at it again. So we're gonna get them out
The
of
conference
here.
has been unlocked.
Yeah, the drunken.
The conference has been locked.
Okay, so sorry for the disturbance, but that's what.
Related.
Yeah, well, that's what you get here. Yeah. Hold
The
on.
conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
Okay, sorry for the disturbance, but we got we got yeah.
Rick Fearon wants a soldier of
Sounds like they did a deep fake on you, Rick.
Well, they do this to me, a lot. So yeah, that's what they do.
The conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
Okay, sorry, friends.
Deep fakes with the governing body.
Yeah, well, there they have it. They are drunken Bethelites. They are doing this. These aren't pranksters just calling up at random. These are actually Watchtower operatives.
But to use your voice and put it in a random paragraph like that of things you didn't say tells me they've got deep fake technology up there.
Oh, yeah, no, they're using AI. And, they don't, Pixie, what it is they do not like the 6 screens of the Watchtower. First of all, they don't like me, Pixie. And Pixie, they don't like you. And they don't like anybody that...
Oh, hey.
they don't like anybody that calls in.
They threatened me.
Yeah, no, in fact, they're starting. See, this is what the Watchtower has to do right now. They are at wit's end. They tried years ago to call us, mentally diseased. They tried to call us agents of the devil. But now what they're doing is I always support them I always thank them when they call me an agent of the devil. He has such a good wardrobe. Yeah, but it's just a pitchfork that doesn't agree with his wardrobe,
I know. He's always clashing. He wouldn't do very well at the Met Gala, but
Yeah.
I think he could compete.
Yeah. Well, Pixie, no, but so there you have it. Yeah, so there you have it. So these are drunken Bethelites. As a matter of fact, this Jared guy, he is a Bethelite from what I understand. He's been contacting me and left a message on my phone. So he is out of Bethel. I think we can confirm that. And, years ago when we had Johnny the Bethelite come on, and no one really believed him. And it was kind of, because he was the first one really to step out and expose the Watchtower. He did it incognito, but he had a radio program here on the 6 Screens Network. Nobody believed him because he was the first one. And people would say, why would someone do that? But he came on 10 years ago and talked about these things. And he told us that they monitor the 6 screens. They don't like it because of, see, what the Watchtower tells everyone is when you leave the Watchtower, you return to the vomit. When you leave the Watchtower, you're going to have no friends. You're going to resort to drugs and alcohol and prostitution. And this is the picture that they paint. So consequently, when they hear us all on here tonight, like we're talking right now and having fun and talking about our convention coming up in August, the Watchtower hates that. They see, they don't want people to believe there's life outside the Watchtower. But Pixie, you've been out.
Well, I have prospered beyond measure, and so have you. You and I, neither one have an addiction problem. I was asked to make $800 a day stripping. I said no. So, they just don't have it right, do they?
No, they don't. And what really, see, what happens is when you run out of ammo, you start throwing rocks. That's exactly what the Watchtower is doing now. They're running out of ammo. They really are. So now they're throwing rocks. They're coming on using all of this language of gay pornography. This is disgusting type language. And they're calling, they're picking on my wife, Susan. They're picking on all of the people calling in. And they think it's going to disrupt us. But we don't give in, up, or out. We're going to.
If they have a personal affront like that, that tells you they have no real proof that leaving the Watchtower is, it's actually a good idea to leave and be free and have your life. And they can't refute that. So they've resorted to crude language and fourth grade tactics, schoolyard bully tactics.
Well, if
they really wanted to plead their case, they could come on your show. Haven't you offered for the last 10 years or so for them to come on and refute?
We've always offered from day one that everyone's, even a governing body member, whoever. But I'm going to tell you, Pixie, and I know I told this story before a million times probably, but for those that never heard it, these guys are really evil and even committing fraudulent practices. In August of 2023, no, it was 2021, I'm sorry. In August of 2021, it was August 31st. That what happened is I got a knock on my door, and while I was doing the broadcast, there was a knock on my door, and so I didn't know who it was, and they were banging really hard. So I got up from my broadcast studio to go to my front door, and when I looked out the peephole, and I saw a rifle pointing right at me. Now, I was threatened that day. So would you open the door? No. So I would not open the door. So all of a sudden, whoever was out there looking through the peephole, all I could see was a rifle pointing right at my door. So, I was afraid they're going to shoot through it. But they said, open the door. We're the police. We are the police. Open the door. So I says, show me a badge. And then I had a wreath on the outside of the door, so I really couldn't see good. I says, I can't see you. All I can see is a person holding a rifle. Take the wreath down and show me a badge. So they took the wreath down. They showed me a badge through the peephole. And I could see that there was a SWAT team. They were dressed up with the whole gear. And so they said, open the door. So I says, okay, I could see they were police. So I opened the door. Now, this is during the broadcast live. So I opened the door, and they said, are you Rick Ferrin? I said, yep. They're pointing a gun right at me, a rifle. And I says, what is the problem here? Well, we got a call that you are holding your wife hostage. That's what they said, Pixie. I'm holding my wife hostage. So they said, where's your wife? I said, she's in the room. I think she's sleeping. So they said, go get her. So I went and got her. I said, Susan, wake up. I want the police are here. They want to question you. So, just imagine waking up out of bed and walking out to your living room, and there's a SWAT team there. There was 5 police officers. 3 of them were armed heavily. And so they said, can we talk to you, Susan, in private? So they took her outside the door. Then they came back in. And Susan said, look, my husband treats me like a queen. He's not holding me hostage. So they came in, they talked to us, and they said, well, what's going on here? We got a call. we got a call from somebody. These again, I'm saying, I can't say with full, total certainty, but these were operatives of the Watchtower trying to shut the 6 screens down. And I listened, I went back, I listened to the tape while this was all going on. And there was a syndicate. It just wasn't one person that was causing this mayhem. I went back while this was all taking place, and they were saying to the effect that we got them, and now do this and do that. And I'm saying there was a number of people that were coordinating this to try to get us off the air. So the cops talked with us. They said that, this can be a felony, and, we're going to find out who it was. And a few days later, I got a call from the Tewksbury Department Police. They mentioned to me that they got a hold of some people that may have been the instigators. So they never wanted to share it with me. But Pixie, I can tell you that the Watchtower hates the 6 screens. And not only the Watchtower hates the 6 screens, we got a lot of fellow ex-witnesses that hate the 6 screens. Did you know that, Pixie? Yeah.
I did not.
Oh, yeah. What it is, see, we were, and I'm not bragging or boasting, but I'm going to tell you the facts. We were the first to really start broadcasting live on a telephone conference, even before Facebook and YouTube was doing live video. We were doing it on a conference call. So the Watchtower always hated the fact that we did this. And now that YouTube came into existence and Facebook, it opened up a whole new ballgame. But just to tell you why a lot of people don't like the 6 screens. When we first started our website, the 6 Screens of the Watchtower, a lot of people used to think that we were sensationalizing because we would say things that nobody else would say. And when my former wife and I left the Watchtower, we wanted to hear everything. I didn't want to, say, well, you can't come on because you're going to talk about satanic ritual abuse in the Watchtower. We made a commitment that we would give a voice to everybody. So, in the beginning, we had people coming on talking about satanic ritual abuse, and people didn't believe that at all. So they said, there goes Rick again, sensationalizing to get an audience. And that was not the case. This was real stuff. And we had people come on talking about things they did in the Watchtower and how they were abused. And a lot of people didn't even believe that back then. But look at what's going on in the Watchtower today. Now, we have a lady, if all goes well, coming on at 8 o'clock tonight. And she was involved in human trafficking. As a young girl, she was actually trafficked sexually. We had a woman on 2 weeks ago that said the same thing. So this woman called me this week and said that the same thing happened to her. So, normally people wouldn't even bring a person on that said that, but I want to hear it. I believe her. 10 years ago.
She's very brave. Many years ago, I used the word ring to describe some of this, and people didn't understand what I was saying.
Yeah, it's, you couldn't see when, let me say this, within the last, I'd say 15 years, millions of Jehovah's Witnesses have left. And we now have the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. So I mentioned this quite a bit here on the 6 Screens. We have 2 camps. There are 2 camps in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. Okay, well, what are the camps? The first camp is the believers in God camp. Whether they be Christians or whatever they would be, there is a number of ex-witnesses that when they left the Jehovah's Witnesses, they still want to believe in God. And that's me. I love God. I pray to God every day. But now there's another camp that left the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that is the non-believers. And I'm not going to say they're all atheists, but they're confused. They've been spiritually abused. So what happens? The 2 camps they actually collide with one another. And because I came on when I first started the Six Screens, it was very much a Christian program. I would talk about God a lot, but I found out that many witnesses leaving the Watchtower, they don't want to hear about it. They've been so spiritually abused. They're just so disoriented. They don't want to believe in anything. They just want to leave and forget about it. So I get that. So I found we don't do any preaching on Saturday night at all. If a preaching comes up, we stop. We put an end to it because I know people tune off. People just want to hear what's going on in a secular way on the Six Screens. And that's why we do the news. We don't get too much into spirituality. Now, sometimes we do have to give scriptures. I mean, after all, the Watchtower says they were a Christian organization. So from time to time on Saturday night, we will bring up some scriptural thoughts, but it's not a preaching session. If people want to hear about theology and the false teachings of the Watchtower biblically, we do that every other Sunday. But the point I'm trying to make is we would allow everybody to come on. Now, just a month ago, we had Derek Barefoot on. Derek Barefoot wrote a book, Jehovah's Witnesses in the Hour of Darkness. And you say, well, what was that book on? You say, well, that book was all about subliminal imagery in the Watchtower. Now, I totally believe it. And there are plenty of people listening to this program tonight that have seen pictures in the Revelation book. We've all seen these little ghastly, ghostly, crazy little images that seem to be inserted in artwork in the Watchtower. They're subliminally there. Now, does subliminal art really exist? You bet it does. And it's actually, it's illegal.
It's in advertising.
Yeah.
The art department has never lied to me.
Yeah, well, this is true. Now, in the United Kingdom, subliminal advertising or images in advertising is illegal. You're not supposed to do that. But in this country, it's not. But one of the, I'll just give you an example. Okay, probably one of the better examples is that it was the advertising. I believe it was for vodka, and they had this really nice glass, crystal glass, and they had some vodka in there. I believe it was, I think it was a martini. So they're showing this picture of the drink, and then at the same time, the ice cube, it kind of was melting, and it said sex. Now, you had to look very careful to see that word engraved in the ice, but that was done deliberately because sex sells. So even though
So they used to make the ice cubes look like little skulls.
That's right. But see, sex sells, and so the ones that were selling that vodka, they said, well, let's put that in there, and subliminally, your subconscious is picking up on it. Now, your conscious mind is not, but the subconscious is picking up. So getting back to the two camps. So I'm in the camp that believes in God. Now, if you believe in God, you believe in the devil. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the devil. So I believe in the devil because I believe in God. So I believe that the Watchtower organization is satanic. They're a satanic organization. And they will deliberately do anything to mess a person's mind up, and especially if they can mess a little kid's mind up. So what happens with this subliminal imagery is little kids are noticing this subconsciously. All these little ghosts and little freaky looking creatures, all of this stuff is being picked up subliminally, subconsciously. And what it's doing, I'm not sure. But I believe the Watchtower organization is a satanic organization. It has deep roots into the occult.
We were talking today, a little pre-show prep, and an ex-member says to me, we started talking about Armageddon. And I said, well, I wonder how many ex-witnesses still believe in Armageddon. And the difference was some of the mainstream Christian people now have end times beliefs. Some of the Catholics with this wonderful the conference has been unlocked. Prophecies on all kinds of things. So different groups have different beliefs. But when we were witnesses, I think the Bible says that you'll be protected in the end times. We were made to think that the fireballs were going to hit us on the head.
You're right. Hey, I just want to make a comment here. I did unlock the conference. The conference is unlocked, so Joe and Fran, if someone's listening on YouTube, let Joe and Fran know it's unlocked, so if they want to come on now, they can. But I had it locked because of the drunken Bethelites, so it's now open.
So it would be interesting, since people have left, how many people, I don't have nightmares about Armageddon, but some people might still be having those. Or, maybe they think, well, we could have end times, but they don't have fear about it anymore. There's all kinds of questions. It takes years to leave this stuff in your head because they have lived rent free in our heads.
Yeah, absolutely, Pixie. As many people say, don't let the Watchtower rent space in your head, because they are. We have to evict them. I just wanted to mention that the conference call is unlocked. Now, I don't want you to get, pink ears if somebody comes on talking dirty. But when we have it open like this, you like, okay, there's going to be people coming on saying things. I'll try to get them off as soon as I can. But we have it unlocked, and that'll allow.
Now, what I found, I subscribed to Skeptical Inquirer for a year, and every issue I found at least 3 errors in it. So some of the atheists can be just as doctrinaire and dogmatic as some of your fundamentalist Christians. I think it's important to have a sound mind, but I hope there is an afterlife. None of us can prove it. I just hope that there is.
Well, the way that I look at it, we're going to drive a car. We get auto insurance. Many of us have life insurance. You say, well, geez, I might never need it, but you got it if you want it. If you need it, you got it, right?
Exactly.
So it's the same thing
That's a good way to look at it.
It's the same way I look at God. And someday, I'm not going to get preachy because I won't do that. But the way that I look at it, we're all in this, on a big ball floating through outer space. Everybody knows that. And we're all going to get old. Everyone's going to die. It's appointed that we all die once. But, in our chapters of life, there's going to be difficult straits. We're going to experience tragedy. We're going to experience the death of loved ones. We're going to experience sickness. We're going to experience probably poverty. We're going to experience a lot of things in life. So it's a good thing to have a hope. A hope is something that it can make a life so much better for people. Because I often think, I remember a man when I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I knocked on the man's door. And he opened the door and he said, "Are you a Jehovah's Witness?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "I'm an atheist and I'm proud of it." Now, I might have been a little snappy at the time, but I came back and I said to him, "Sir, do you know what happens to atheists when they die?" The man said, "What happens?" I says, "Well, they're all dressed up and nowhere to go." And that's the way I look at it. I don't want to be all dressed up and nowhere to go. I really don't. I want to at least have a hope while I'm living.
There's so much we don't understand about the mind, the brain, the dimensions. There's so much we don't understand. And you would think the scientific people writing Skeptical Inquirer, you'd think they would be open-minded. But I didn't find their magazine to be so. I was very disappointed.
Well, many people would be. Well, anyways, I want to say that with a good conversation we got into, but we're going to bring it right back to homeless Jehovah's Witnesses. Friends, this has become a real problem. Many Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going broke. Many people in the world are going broke. It's expensive to live in the world today, especially, I don't know about other parts of the world, but I know America. America is not cheap anymore. I don't know if it ever was, but it certainly was cheaper before COVID. But the witnesses are experiencing unbelievable amounts of poverty. They are. And that's just not me saying this. Now, I live here next to a city, and I mention just about every week, Lowell, Massachusetts. There is an epidemic. There is a real serious problems with homelessness, people sleeping by the river, people sleeping in tents, people sleeping on the sidewalk. You see it every day. So, think about the witnesses. They're falling through the cracks as well. Like I said earlier, they didn't have a career. They never got educated. So now we're learning, and information coming in here to the 6 screens is a number of witnesses are now moving in with each other just to try to help each other. And, I'll tell you, I mean, that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not. But, I'm thinking in terms of even the Watchtower. If you were really down on your luck and you needed, say, $100, you had 4 or 5 little kids, you need milk, you need Pampers, you need some food for the family, and you're down on your luck. Don't ever think Watchtower would give it to you. I mean, don't ever think it. What would you call the headquarters? Gee, I'm Brother Farron. Geez, I'm having a hard time. Could you send me some? You're not going to get any money. But I'll tell you who gives the money. I'll tell you who gives it, the congregation elders. Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. So, in fact, I even had a guy come to me once. A guy came to me, and he was getting money. He kept giving hard luck stories to the elder. He'd go and say, gee, I have no food. Gee, my wife doesn't have a clean blouse to wear. And the elder would dig into his own pockets and give him money. So if you get money from the Watchtower, it's not from the world headquarters. It's from the elders in the local congregation. So I don't know how they're going to handle this.
Well, they had a piece of paper that had all the city services on it. And this was last year sometime. And I called one of the elders and I said, if you could get that paper to me, maybe I could help some of the congregants to get the services they need. Because I'm real good on the phone and I'm real good with offices and stuff. They never got back to me. I would have gladly spent my time helping 10, 12 different families to get social services. So this just made me sad because they are looking at the county services and the government services and all to help the people.
Well,
if the person isn't very literate, they might have needed me to help them.
Yeah, I want to add something. And
you're breaking up.
Okay, I'll try to talk succinctly. In the Cincinnati area, one of the things I observed was almost all the elders were the richest people in the congregation. And I'm wondering if that isn't by design, because they would foot the bill for all these poor witnesses. They'd come to them and ask for assistance. I used to get pissed off at this fact, You people got all this money, and you get appointed, and nobody else gets appointed. Yeah, occasionally a token elder who wasn't that wealthy, but literally millionaires, vice presidents of Fifth Third Bank, people who own 2 or 3 companies. And I started to think, what is the purpose? They don't have that much spiritual qualifications or what I do. I mean, it was crazy. I was a ministerial servant, but it was like, I wasn't rich, and that was the only thing I saw that was the difference. And Dixie, I think that was Dixie, right?
Dixie.
Yeah, Dixie. The elders would kind of foot the bill for that crap. Maybe that's exactly what was the design. It had nothing to do with theocratic, Holy Spirit assigned people. They were assigned by their money. Their money. I could tell stories, but I don't want to belabor the fact that it happened, and it was probably by design. Thank you, Dixie, and thank you. Who is that? Rick? Yeah, Rick.
Hello, Rick.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you, King and Dots. Yeah, yes, Fran.
Hi. the caller that's supposed to call in at 8 o'clock, she can't make it. She's away celebrating Mother's Day, so I just wanted to let you know. And I couldn't get in sooner because it was locked.
Oh, good. Okay, that's good. Well, thank you very much for coming on saying that. So,
Happy Mother's Day, friend.
yes,
Thank you, Pixie.
yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Fran. Fran was hunting this person down, but she'll be on with us soon. But thank you, Fran. I really appreciate it. So anyways, the homeless situation, big time with witnesses. I'm going to tell you something though. I maybe it's just maybe hold on one second. Yeah. Okay. Did you have? All right. We got when you come on, folks. What you have to do, if you have YouTube on in the background, it's going to echo. I'm telling you that right now. So if you come on and you're going to talk on your telephone, you got to turn YouTube off. So we got a lot of people coming in right now. We got them coming in from pretty much all across the nation. We got them coming in from the UK as well. This is where you can speak up and talk, friends. This is an unbelievable thing. We always couldn't do this. The ex-witness world. Were you around in 1995? Were you around when the internet was just getting going? Do you know how we used to communicate before the internet? Well, it was all done by email. But, now we can look at what Facebook has done for us. Look at what texting has done for us. It's a whole new thing. Who'd like to speak up? We get 602, is it? 602. Come on, you're with it. Come on. All right. I guess not. But what I'm thinking is okay, go ahead. Who's this?
Hey, Ray, 602, it's Gilbert. Hey, we're going to differ on the homeless thing, but let me tell you why, because I've been preaching this for ages, and it has nothing to do with education. It actually has a lot to do with biblical education, that people go to church, all churches, and they don't learn the very basic. And let me just tell you something real quick. In Proverbs chapter 1, King Solomon tells you how the mafia works. He tells you how dirty people who are evil to the core. He calls them people who run to evil, who cast nets to shed blood. And he tells them that they look for innocent people to kill, like birds, right? That's the thing. And in it, he says that we would tell these people, cast in your lots among us. Let us all have one purse, like a 401k, Social Security, all of these other things, pioneering, put all of your money in for Jehovah. And then he says, let us lie in wait for their own blood. So these people, and he says, so are the ways of everyone who is greedy for gain. What people don't understand here is that the reason that Jehovah's Witnesses are going homeless is because they have put all of their lot in the pot of Jehovah and his organization here on earth. And when you put everything in one pot, the people who control that pot, the Jehovah's Witnesses, Social Security, 401k, your fund managers, they're all going to rip you off. And so King Solomon was telling you, this has nothing to do with your education, because my grandparents were extremely well educated with great jobs in Mexico. And in 1991, the government just chopped off 3 zeros off their pesos and left them penniless, along with millions of other Mexicans. The point is real simple, that, for example, the Jehovah's Witnesses have these properties where you could easily go to the city and say, hey, we have a proposition. We're going to build apartments here, no cars. It's not going to affect the neighborhood, but it's going to be for low-income elderly housing. And 20, 40, 50, 100 people could live here. And those are the ones who gave their life to Watchtower. But what does Watchtower do? They sell their properties, and they probably even sell their properties to people that they're in bed with. Like, let's say, for example, I'm like that guy from Bethel called, and he talks about the sexual liaisons that they have. Let's say I do that with Watchtower, and I say, Stephen Lett, sell me this property, and I'm gonna rent it to Starbucks. So we don't know who Watchtower is selling these properties, these Kingdom Halls to. I do believe that they're friends of them. Instead of using their properties to benefit the elderly or the people that are in need, they rather let them go homeless, because King Solomon told you they lie in wait for their blood. They are happy that they have taken all of the blood, the sweat from your life, and they are happy to see you in a miserable state because they are demonic. Demons do what demons do. Remember, Forrest Gump told you, right? Stupid is what stupid does. This is what evil does. You're witnessing it. So the reason Jehovah's Witnesses are going homeless is because they were going to the Kingdom Hall and they thought they were reading the Bible, but they weren't. King Solomon told you, don't put your money, your sweat, and everything you have in anybody's pot, only the one in your family. Only you and your wife should have a pot, and no one else should be in that pot. And if everyone just takes care of themselves, well then guess what? We wouldn't have this homeless situation, because people would have the Samaritan purse. But right now we have a nation where people don't have a purse, because the Federal Reserve, the United States government has allowed, and that's another subject for another day, thievery. But Rick, just in a nutshell.
Oh, Susan, I want to tag team you, Susan.
No, don't add until I finish. And Rick, so I would like to go ahead and just say, I would like to see what you think about the homeless, but I really think it's because of that. They didn't teach the Jehovah's Witnesses to be independent, like America, the spirit of independence. That's why America has become so great, because you look at the map.
The conference has been locked.
People that lived independent lives, and that creates a wealthy country. But when you put all of your money in one pot, you have socialism, communism, and you have a nation under a dictatorship, under a tyranny. Does that make any sense, Rick?
Well, it makes a lot of sense, because one of the subjects I was going to bring up tonight is don't you think, Gilbert, that the Watchtower organization kind of is like communism?
Yes, absolutely. It's all centralized control, and they put all of their money in one purse, and the dictators control that purse. And then when you're in need, you are like a sacrifice. They don't view you as human. They're like King George in the Revolution. They actually believe they have a right to rule over you. They don't care if you live or die. You're just a number.
Gilbert, they set you up for it. They told you we're all brothers and sisters and mothers and houses and friends, all united in the truth. And then when you are down in your luck, guess what happens? None of that. I've been kicked out of Witness House. My study teacher moved me into his mother's basement, which is totally unfurnished. She found out and kicked me the hell out the next day, No, it's not that way.
What I'm trying to say is that King Solomon told you this in the very beginning of Proverbs. So you go to the Kingdom Hall and you don't know nothing about the Bible. And this is the last point I want to make, Rick. That if you go to BibleGateway.com and you type in the word gold, silver, and money, the Bible makes 1,000 references to gold, silver, and money. And what does that mean? That all of the evil that we see today and in the past, it's already been happening. And the Bible has forewarned us about these homelessness. The Bible has forewarned us about the people trying to steal from us. But the Jehovah's Witnesses go to church, go to their religion, and I know I was one of them, and there's absolutely no financial education in that religion. They have been set up for failure. That's what the Watchtower has done. And it goes like it says here in verse 17, surely in vain the net is spread. They have put inside of any bird, they have put a net out to kill these birds, to kill the witnesses. Forrest Gump said it, stupid is what stupid does. Evil is what Watchtower does. Watchtower is an evil organization, and only demonic entities treat their members this way. There's no other way to say it. I hope I'm not boring you, Rick. I know you're silent and you're like, like, oh my God, when is Gilbert going to finish?
Well, no, what you're saying here is kind of ironic that you're even talking this subject because, socioeconomic. I mean, in communism, they try to create this socio-economic that everyone's on the same page. There is no classes of people. Everyone's of the same class, even though we know the dictators take off with all the money. But it's very much like in the Watchtower, right? They, the new world, no one is supposed to be, and there's no class structure. We're all supposed to, when I was a witness, we were going to build each other's houses, share all of our food together. It's kind of a world that's is very much like communism. But communism, I mean, has not really been able to take a foothold. People don't want it. But I'm even wondering, I mean, you've been talking here tonight about this very fact about how the witnesses operate and how they really shouldn't be homeless. But I'll tell you, Gilbert, you were a witness for many years. Did you have any feelings that at times you didn't think you wanted to live in the new system?
All the time, yeah, all the time. But I will say this other thing too. This is how communists work, and you're going to see this. A lot of people can't make it to the convention that you have in Boston in this summer because they don't have the money. But guess what? There's a group of people that are called governing body members, circuit district overseers, and guest speakers of the Watchtower. And they're going to go between now and the convention. They're going to go to Brazil. They're going to go to Japan. They're going to go to France, and they're going to go to Thailand. And it's all going to be on the dime of the Jehovah's Witnesses. So these people live like millionaires. They live like millionaires, but they tell everybody that they have signed a vow of poverty. But when are you going to go to Paris, France? And then next week go to Brazil? When are you going to go to the brand new country of El Salvador and see all of its glory that they have done over there? When are you going to go to Mexico City? You're not. You can't even afford to go to Boston. But the Jehovah's Witness governing body, the Jehovah's Witness district overseers, circuit overseers, and the guest speakers live like kings. And that's how it works in a communist organization. The people at the top live like kings while they tell everybody that they've signed a vow of poverty.
Well, that's a good way of putting it. It's right. They do live like kings, and they do travel first class. Now, I don't know about all of their flights, but there was an article I read once about Milton Henschel, and he was the president for a short while during the 80s of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And I did have information that came to me that, when he would travel, they don't travel like, the average guy is going to travel. They're going to go first class business or whatever. So, they don't really look at saving, money. These governing body members, they don't stay at the Motel 8. They stay at, high-end hotels. They really do. Hilton, Marriott, good quality hotels, not the cheap end hotels. So that's the difference. I mean, if these people really had a feeling for the witnesses, don't you think that they'd bring themselves down to earth and be frugal? They try to make it seem like they're frugal, but they're far from it, Gilbert.
So now you understand the homeless situation. The ability is there. They have, and Donald Trump today signed something about homelessness for veterans. There's a group of people that have the power, and they're actually trying to help homeless people. And there's others that are making money off of this, off the homeless camps. They're making money off of the poor. And Watchtower, unfortunately, they're the group that make money off of the poor. It is sad because there is such a thing called a hell. And your caller that called in earlier, he can play around everything he wants, but there is a thing called hell. And that's where you pay for the things that you did on planet Earth. And we're not talking about, stupid little small things. We're not talking about kissing a girl when you're 16 years old. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about stealing money and stealing people's lives. There is a consequence for this. And those of you in Bethel that are trying to crash, you better stop crashing. And you better rearrange your lives because you are going to go to hell. People will pay for all of the suffering that we see going on in this earth today. So, Rick, you're doing a great job. And I hope I added to the call, and that's you Jehovah's Witnesses. That's what you need to understand. You've been set up for failure. You've been set up for failure. Get out, just like Babylon the Great. Get out, and that's the best advice we can give you.
Well, that is good advice. And Gilbert, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people listening in tonight. Many of you guys out there listening, you are, I know, people that are loyal Jehovah's Witnesses, but now you're starting to have some doubts. Now, don't think they were a bunch of mad, irate apostates and hate you. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help you. So you just heard from Gilbert. He's a former Jehovah's Witness. The people calling in here are former Jehovah's Witnesses. We've escaped the Watchtower. And you're probably trying to do the same thing and saying, well, how can I do it without anybody really coming after me and retaliating? Well, you have to go very slow. There is no real answer. But you know, when I see things that are total hypocrisy in the Watchtower, it really rattles my cage. You know, they wanted us to be so loyal and so spiritual and so honest, and yet at the same time, they say things they want all of the witnesses to do, but they don't do it. And I was even noticing in this week's Watchtower lesson, it's really condemning joining a political party. Now, obviously, we know that we can't, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, we couldn't join a political party. We couldn't become a Republican. We couldn't become a Democrat. But this week's Watchtower is saying that this is betraying Jehovah God if you actually join a political party. Now, the first thing that came to my mind, okay, all right, I didn't join a political party when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but what about Jehovah's Witnesses? Did they join a political party? Well, I don't know if the Jehovah's Witnesses became Democrats or they became Republicans, but I do know one thing for a fact. They joined the United Nations. I mean, isn't that tantamount to the same? Wouldn't that be like joining a political party? So isn't that hypocrisy? How is it? How is it that, you know, the Watchtower can constantly give all these policies, rules, positions that a Jehovah's Witness would take, and yet they don't take it themselves? So, you know, how can you really go along with an organization that's filled with hypocrisy? Well, we got a big program coming up after this. We've got Eric. He's going to make a big announcement. Don't go anywhere. We're going to end this program in about an hour. Eric's going to come on. He's got a special guest. He's going to make a big announcement tonight. Don't miss Awakening After the Watchtower, coming up after JW World News. Is there anybody out there that would like to say something? I know I've been hogging the program tonight, but is there anybody out there that would like to say something?
I wanted to comment with y'all, with you, Rick, and Gilbert. You were saying about Gilbert and the Hilton and the Marriott.
The conference has been unlocked.
For them, they stay in places more like the Omni and the Ritz-Carlton.
So you think the Hilton's not good enough for them, Dallas?
I think it's the Omni, such as the Omni and the Parker and the Ritz-Carlton.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, do you know what those hotels go for a night now, Dallas?
What, the Omni and the Ritz-Carlton you're talking about?
Yeah. What do you think they get a night at the Ritz-Carlton?
Hundreds of dollars. The Omni, hundreds as well.
So you don't think you'll catch a governing body member sleeping in a Motel 6?
Not likely. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I think they drive even Rolls Royces as well. They do.
Well, I like the way you talk, Dallas. You know, you have a real sense of, when you say it, I believe it. I really, really do. There's something about your voice inflection that it really makes me believe what you say. You're saying it from the bottom of your heart, aren't you?
I try to.
Well, you're doing a good job. We're so glad to have you part of the Six Screens team here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dallas. Well, yes, Seth. Stefan.
Yeah, one of the things you were talking about with respect to the hypocrisy that really just burns me is Watchtower preaches how evil the government is, right? You go back and you look at the publications, they've even said that the government gets its power from the devil. So the government essentially is the devil. And yet this multi-billion-dollar organization, properties all over the world, when you talk about things like what we're talking about now, which is the homelessness, and just within the organization, this organization does nothing charitable for anybody. And if you were to ask for assistance, they will send you to the very government that they claim is demonic. The principal seed of the devil gets its power from the devil. Now, why is it, sorry about the noise, but why is it that witnesses don't see the hypocrisy in that? How do you say that these things are demonic? They're of the devil, and send your very people to them, and you don't do anything to assist these people at all. And I can never get out of my mind when Jesus was preaching someplace, and the disciples went to him and said, "Hey, we better disband the people. It's getting late. You know, they're going to be hungry." And Jesus turned to them, and Jesus said, "Give them a list of government agencies to go get assistance from." Right? Is that what it says there? No, Jesus says, "You feed them." Real simple. They kind of looked at each other like, "Well, we only got a few fish, and that's not a miracle was performed." But the point being is Jesus did for his disciples. But this organization will do nothing, tell you about how bad the government is, and then send you to the government for the very help that you're supposed to be providing as Christ's quote unquote brothers and his representatives here on earth. That hypocrisy is what drives me. Thanks.
Well, yes. In fact, we've talked about hypocrisy before. Thank you, Stefan, for chiming in. In fact, there's so much, when we first started the Six Screens 20 years ago, there wasn't this much cynical, negative news about the Watchtower. It was all good news, right? I mean, really, in fact, I got kind of frustrated even doing the program 20 years ago because there's nothing I could really say that was really showing the Watchtower was hurting. There was nothing I could say that we were getting points on the scoreboard, so to speak, because we weren't. The apostates were losing. But I got news for you. We are now in offense mood. Now, in fact, last week or 2 weeks ago, Gilbert brought this up. We're now in an offensive mode, I should say. At one time, we were always defending ourselves. Now we got the Watchtower defending themselves. And look at even the drunken Bethelites coming on tonight. But, in fact, things are so bad for the Watchtower. Things are so bad for the Watchtower right now. Have you seen some of the commercials? The Watchtower is now, they're playing them on YouTube. Have you seen them about the pure worship conventions that are already starting this month? I mean, they're trying to get people through the social media. They never did that before. Well, why do you think the Watchtower is doing that? Because people aren't wanting to go to the conventions. I mean, before you go to the conventions, they were packed, and we'll be watching them this summer to see how packed they'll be. But all indications are they're not. In fact, even online, I was reading some information concerning California conventions. They are not what they used to be. In San Diego, for example, I believe it's the Qualcomm Stadium. They would fill that. They would capacity fill the Cow Palace up in San Francisco. Filled. No more, they're not even using these facilities. Now, this year, they're not using that Qualcomm Stadium, I believe, as well. It's because they can't fill it. So they're actually having their conventions at assembly halls. And yet they keep telling us we're growing. Oh, the Watchtower organization is growing. How can it be? How can it be? So, this YouTube video, a commercial they're playing on YouTube, trying to get people to come to the conventions. Did you ever think you'd see the day where Watchtower would advertise to get people? I mean, Judge Rutherford said it years ago, right? Advertise. But he wasn't talking on YouTube. He wasn't talking on TV or radio. He was talking about knocking on doors all over the place and inviting people. Yes, so that I found that fascinating. I found that very, very. Yes.
Yeah, this is Stephen. So I did notice that a little bit before I woke up, because here in Illinois, you can ask your lovely wife about this. We had our own circuit assembly facility that we built from the ground up out in Bolingbrook, Illinois. If you ask your wife, she probably knows that suburb. But we would never go there for district. The district was always at large facilities, like where the White Sox play ball, and some other horse racing tracks, places like that. But then here, lately, the last several years before I quit attending altogether, they stopped having the districts at those facilities, and they started having venue, and they started having them in the same facility that they started. And so I knew just from that the only reason why you do that is that you couldn't afford those larger venues anymore. So I could tell just from that. Now, getting to the advertising, I knew Watchtower was going to have to do that. I think I mentioned this on this show. I was on YouTube just last night, and there's a continual ad that's out there. They changed the people. They're these beautiful, I believe they're Seventh-day Adventists, Church of Latter God, or whatever that is, whatever that denomination is. They have commercials out there regularly. Just a quick 30-second bite. It's always two younger women, and they invite you to come to church and blah, blah, blah. And so I said to myself, there's no way Watchtower is going to be able to stay out of doing this exact same thing. They're going to have to go online and put together some sort of a presence. And you kind of see that, to a degree with the little movies that they're trying to do. But they're going to have to do that just to compete with what everybody else is doing. So whatever you see everybody else is doing, whatever you see the Mormons doing, Scientology, whatever group, Watchtower is going to have to do the same. It's just a matter of time.
I'm with you 100%. That they have to do it, and that's the position they're taking. Go ahead, you're on with us. Go ahead, speak up.
Rick, can I just make one correction about I would say technically wrong about the convention in Qualcomm in San Diego, because the last convention Watchtower had there, I flew an airplane banner for over 30 minutes that said "Stop Hiding Child Abuse, jwfacts.com." So that's what I'm talking about, offense. We went on offense and we pissed on that convention. And we said, this is ours. And that's the point about being on offense, is that when Watchtower looks for locations, they're thinking about, well, what if an apostate crashes? They're thinking about that stuff. We are living in their brain. Normally, you and I would just go home and we just do our things. What we are living in Watchtower's brain. They think about us when they do convention prep. They think, we can't have this convention in an open air stadium because Gilbert and his brother Jesse are going to raise money and they're going to fly an airplane and say, "Stop hiding child abuse, jwfacts.com." And that's what I mean by being on offense. Believe me that everything Watchtower does, they're thinking about you and everybody else. They're thinking about all of you. They're worried that you're going to crash them. So I just wanted to make that correction. That's why Watchtower doesn't have those conventions in open air stadiums.
Well, that's interesting, Gilbert. Well, that's a good point. I mean, I know you at your own expense, you had that plane fly over, and that was a good tactic. That was a darn good tactic. So they are concerned about people crashing a convention. It can make a difference. I mean, we knew a few years back that crashes in a Kingdom Hall were pretty much going on all over the country. And we even had the fellow, I forget his name now, off the top of my head. Who was the fellow there that was Jed? Was it Jed? What was his name? It was crashing. Zeb, right, Zeb. When he came to that, of course, I met you up at the protest. We had the march of the protest in front of Watchtower, and Zeb was there. And boy, that guy had a lot of guts crashing Kingdom Halls.
Well, what I'm telling you, Rick, is like when you do your protests and you go out to their memorials or whatever, they're thinking in the next year, when they have their meetings, they're thinking, well, last year Rick Farron was here, and what are we going to do about the parking? And they're going to try to redirect. That's what I'm trying to say is, Rick Farron, lives rent-free in their brain. The people over there in Massachusetts, the elders, they think about you when they're planning their conventions, when they're planning their memorials. They do. You don't know it, but they do. And I know this because of a lot of elders and elders' wives and family members have said that to Jesse and I. Because Jesse and I Jesse would put on Facebook, oh, Gilbert's going to crash the memorial. They would have meetings. I wasn't going to crash the memorial. It was just like a head fake. What I'm telling you is that Watchtower, the apostates live rent-free in the Watchtower's brains, so as long as everyone just stays busy in their apostasy.
Well, I'll tell you, that's interesting. I maybe a few years ago, I'd say, well, they don't think of Rick Farron when they're coming up with convention.
I don't mean to butt in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about the convention. I got my free tickets, and I'm really looking forward to it. The last convention you had was amazing.
So who's this?
My name's Mary.
Your name is Mary?
I'm looking forward to the next convention. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next convention. It's going to be a great time in August. I especially love the extra after activities with your wife, Susan, when we all...
The conference has been locked.
Well, there you go. The drunken Bethelites again. They're at every chance they get. They're going to try to come in here. Yeah, you know, how dirty can these guys get? Now think about it. You know, there's nasty people in life, but how raunchy, how sick, how debauched can people be coming in and, you know, trying to make attacks on your wife? I mean, how bad is that? You know, that shows you how sick they are. These are Watchtower operatives. Nobody's going to change my mind. These are people that are trying to derail the program. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to take them there. I don't want to give them any praise. Yeah.
As much as they talk about having pure worship, and as much as they talk about not bringing reproach, again, they don't even know how to cuss well.
Well.
Hi, Rick.
Yes, go ahead.
It's Maverick here. I just was picking up on Pixie's comment. She's kind of read my mind there. I was thinking, who are these guys who call in regular? They've done each week almost. Who are they? Lots of questions was buzzing through my head. One of them being, who do they think they're actually representing? Because if they're representing themselves, they look like idiots. If they're representing or trying to act like they're defending the truth, they look like idiots. And if they say that they've got a semblance, as Pixie just said, they've got kind of a semblance of morality in them, how can they even have any face to even walk around if they're in the Kingdom Hall or wherever, whoever they are? I mean, they're embarrassing themselves. And I know you don't want to put focus on them tonight because it's not worth it, but they should take a good look at themselves, because even I spoke to a lady yesterday. It was a sister. She's still a sister. And I bumped into her. This person, when I disassociated myself over 10 years ago now, she picked the phone up, and when she realized that I disassociated myself, she promptly put the phone down. Oh, I can't talk to you anymore. Now, look at this. Almost about 13 years now, I bumped into her purely by accident, and her demeanor was completely different. Friendly. She started talking about all the problems in the organization. She said that after the COVID situation, everyone's demeanors changed. People were turning on each other. And so why am I bringing this up? I got a first-hand kind of reminder of people who are having real problems in there, and they're struggling. And if they're listening tonight, then they can see the stark contrast between the so-called apostates, the ones who are mentally diseased, and the ones who are supposed to be the ones who are in the light and in the truth. Look at the contrast. And this sister was telling me that she's very unhappy about the hypocrisy she's noticing more and more and more, and how it's like there's people who can't even go to the meeting and they're staying on Zoom because they can't afford to travel to the meetings, and they're getting demonized or bullied and saying why at the meetings, well, they can't afford to get there. So I got a real kind of like flashback from some of the local congregations that were in my area that hadn't spoken to this sister for over 13 years. And I thought she's not going to talk to me when she recognizes who I am. But she did. And she was very, very warm. And she said, lots of things have changed and it's not how I remember it. And she's been there over 35, 40 years as well. So I just wanted to say that the people who come in and try to be vile like they do, who are you actually representing? You're only making yourself look stupid. And by anyone's standard, whether you are religious or not, or whether you have a faith or not, anyone who comes in here for the first time, maybe for the first time they're curious about what so-called apostates say, they're getting a clear contrast between decent people who are just trying to talk to each other and encourage each other, and the nastiness that's coming from the so-called true organization. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, Rick.
Well, Maverick, you're a breath of fresh air. My goodness gracious. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's doing that. There is no value in what these goons are doing. And when these guys first started coming on 3.5 years ago, I really thought they were just pranksters, because people do that. They call up these conference calls and try to, make jokes and pranksters. But then all of a sudden, I realized that, no, these aren't pranksters. These are Watchtower operatives. And the way that I could distinguish that is I got emails and they would call me on my personal phone, same voices, and, saying that, I'm all wrong, I'm dead wrong, you left the Watchtower, and they were really ticked off at my position that I took in having our radio program on Saturday nights. And then even tonight, this man came on, he went by the name Jared, and he said that he was a Bethelite. And he wrote me this week saying that, and now he's on here tonight. And then also I go back, and as I mentioned earlier, Johnny the Bethelite says that they listen in. Now there's Bethelites. I'm not the only one. They listen to Mike and Kimmy. They listen into critical thinkers. They listen to a lot of these programs, but they're taped. All right, they watch it, but they hate this because it's live. But there are Bethelites assigned to watch Mike and Kimmy, critical thinker. They're out there watching all of these things. That's their job at Bethel. And they watch all this critical stuff about the Watchtower. But they hate this program because it's live. And they can come in here and try to disrupt it. How do you disrupt a YouTube video? And Mike and Kim do a great job. Anybody that's exposing the Watchtower is my friend. I'll tell you that right now. I'm an ally with anybody that's exposing the Watchtower. But, I wanted to bring another thing up. I wanted to bring this up. I watch the JW broadcasting because I have to do the news. I don't think it's wholesome for me. I don't want you guys to watch it, but I have to watch it because of the news that I do. Now, the May 2025 broadcast on jw.org, and this got my attention again because it's so nutty what the Watchtower is doing in these broadcasts. So they're telling children now, they're putting undue pressure on young people about a career. They're putting pressure not to have a career, be loving toward bitter opposers. See, they know they got to start teaching these children very early that as they're growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses, there's going to be bitter opposers. So they got to kind of tell them before they tell them. And also, They're also addressing in this broadcast about clinical depression among younger people. So we got a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts in this broadcast. But the thing that I wanted to address, and it really irks me, it really makes me sick, is to discourage children from reaching out and getting a career or better position in life. This has been going on for years in the Watchtower, and they get away with it. And there's many listening to this podcast that took their advice years ago, and now they're getting old, they're retired. And because of taking the foolish advice of the Watchtower, the poor people, plenty of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, they've fallen into poverty because of it. But here we go again in the May, just a recent broadcast, just a few days ago. They're now telling kids the same thing that they told us. Do you remember what they used to tell us at the conventions? I can remember District Overseer. I heard this illustration numerous times. He'd stand up there and say, brothers and sisters, and especially young ones in the audience, why would you want to be rearranging the furniture on the Titanic? It's sinking. And, they said that 50 years ago. Rearranging the furniture on the Titanic, why would you do it? And they were making that in reference to reaching out for a career. Now, there's plenty of ex-witnesses listening to this program tonight that is saying, Rick, I wish I never listened to these scoundrels. They really have made life difficult for me today. But here they are again, May 2025. Same thing. I'll tell you what, these guys really should be shot. They should be put up against a firing squad. Who in their right mind would tell a person not to reach out for a better job? Would you do that? No, you wouldn't. You want to see people doing good. But as Gilbert was just saying, they want to make you fail. The Watchtower wants you to be a failure. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want that. They want to keep you a failure so they can control you. And they will control you from the cradle.
Almost like it's a wicked, it must be some kind of wicked experiment or something, because I can't think of any other religion that would want their people to fail, because they want to get contributions from successful members. It's really the wackiest thing around.
Well, I use the expression, how do you make sense out of nonsense? Sometimes I beat that expression to death, but I have to use it a lot because it's true. How do you make sense out of nonsense? And that's nonsensical. And then they even have parents of children. Never mind the Watchtower saying don't get a career, but you have parents. I was just reading online today about a young pioneer girl. She's exhausted. She doesn't want to go in service anymore. She doesn't want to be a pioneer anymore. But her elder father, oh yeah, well, honey, you want to do things with Jehovah. You want to make it into the new system, right? You have to work hard, and Jehovah will reward you. I mean, this is sick stuff. You got parents actually encouraging
It really
the children.
is sick because it's against self-preservation, which is the first law of living.
Yeah. Well, I like little colloquialisms. I like little euphemisms, little sayings. And my wife, Susan, she has a great saying that she heard. And the saying is, how do you reason with an unreasonable person? Did you ever try that? Did you ever try to reason with an it can't be done. So this is what I see in the Watchtower. It really, the Jehovah's Witnesses, you can't reason with them. You can go to them with fact after fact after fact, and they will not accept it. See, it's like I look at it like a firewall which is between you as a car driver and the engine. There's a firewall. It's built with asbestos and flame retardant material. So if that engine ever catches fire, it's not going to come back and burn you in the driver's seat. So that firewall is protection. The Watchtower does that when they get a person very, very loyal to them, a real loyal witness. That witness builds a firewall around them. And if anyone tries to enter that firewall, immediately it's stopped. You can't even get to first base with a witness, really. And in fact, that's a good question I want to throw out to the audience. And maybe, Pixie, you can be the first one to answer it. If you could have a Jehovah's Witness come into your home, a loyal Jehovah's Witness, and they would say, okay, Miss Pixie, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to try to convince me that I don't have the truth. Pixie, where would you start?
Well, I'd go with what we've just been talking about, and I'd say, I'm sitting good here. I saved for retirement. Where are you going to be when you are in retirement? And I wouldn't even go dogma to dogma with them. I wouldn't even go scripture to scripture with them. I would ask them about the economy and say, what's your plan for the future should the Lord tarry? Are you going to have enough to retire? Because not listening to those guys was probably the smartest thing I ever did.
Wouldn't you love to have the opportunity, if you could get a witness that had their ears opened? Really, how long would it really take to convince the witness this is not the truth if they had an open ear?
They don't listen, though. They don't. I tried to tell a dear friend that I've known all my life about the Australian Royal Commission, and she came back with, well, every religion's had that problem. And I said, well, would you be a member of those? Even with this new pope, he's going to get lots of new members. He's a splendid, brilliant mathematician guy, and he looks good on camera. That organization is huge, but they've looked at the problem of abuse. They said a sorry on television some years back, and they're policing their own people now to keep the children safe. I don't see the Watchtower doing that.
Well, Pixie,
they don't listen. You're right about the firewall.
Yeah, they really. Go ahead, you run with us.
I'm in the middle of cutting grass, but I just want to interject for just a second. I would ask if they believe that Jehovah was backing this organization, and I'm sure that they would say yes. And then I would ask the question, then why is it that whenever they seem to need money, first of all, why do they need money? But whenever they seem to need money, why is it that they don't put out a plea that all witnesses get on their knees tonight in prayer and ask Jehovah to give us what they need? They don't do that. You never once heard them do that. What they always do is go to the witnesses and tell them that essentially they need money, and that's where they get their money from. But why is it that if this is an organization that you say is backed by Jehovah, that Jehovah doesn't provide what his servants need, that they have to go to the government or they have to go to the individual witnesses and beg for money? I would just ask them that.
Well, you might get them on that economic point.
They're not running a charity. They should lose their 501c3, in my opinion.
Well, we all feel that.
I'm just saying that would be a question that I would, because that might be something that somebody would think about. Yeah, why is it that they don't pray to Jehovah and ask for these things? They always come to the witnesses and ask them. They're getting the money for the witnesses, not for Jehovah, because they're supposed to be Jehovah's sole organization on the earth. That might give them something to think about. Thanks.
Hey, Rick?
Yes, Susan.
I have a question for them. Why are new people every year at the memorial partaking? Why is the number going up instead of going down?
Well, see, like I said earlier, Susan, the Watchtower really stinks at reasoning. And what do you think a witness would say to you if you asked them that question, Susan?
I don't think they'd know what to say because that subject is not discussed.
Well, I think I know what they would say. Yeah, so Susan goes to a witness and says, Mrs. Jehovah's Witness, why is there so many people partaking? Why do we have, 2,300 people this year partaking? Why is the number going up? It's supposed to be going down. Well, they would say, well, Susan, a lot of people mistakenly believe they're anointed, and they're mentally challenged people. A lot of these people have been on drugs. A lot of these people have leftover feelings from Christendom. So they're really not anointed. They're just partaking, but we realize that they're not mentally correct. That's what they would say.
What about the new ones that are joining the governing body that are a little young for the job?
Well, if you're talking about Jody, the financial expert, Jody Jadell, newest governing body member. Yeah, he's young. He's in his late 50s, and he's a governing body member, and he's anointed, as he would say. But I mean, what an anointed person really, I mean, in the world, I mean, everybody knows that every Christian, if you're a Christian person, you're anointed. But in the Jehovah's Witness religion, they make it something super special that, boy, remember the faithful. Oh, my goodness, you are anointed. So they make a big deal out of it. So now you have this Jody Jadell, newest governing body member. The anointed people are supposed to be the true congregation of Christ, that they are the ones that have been brought into his covenant, not the great crowd. So Jody Jadell, financial advisor, has been brought into the fold of Christ. Now, would Christ want a financial advisor, one who's investing other people's money? I mean, I think of that. I mean, how odd is that? If I was a Jehovah's Witness, I'd say, well, the anointed shouldn't be concerned about financial advising. They should be concerned about advising people spiritually. But see how can people even go along with all that? That's nutty. But as I said earlier, Susan, the Watchtower, the people are sick with reasoning. But Susan, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. So I'm just thinking here again. My wife got me thinking. She's got me thinking about how unreasonable they are. We had a man call up the Six Greens the last summer, and it stuck with me. There's certain callers that, they make a lot of sense to me. So he called me up on one night on the Six Greens conference call, and he says, Rick, I went to the convention with my mother, and boy, there was so many empty seats. And he says, I'm working my way out of the Watchtower. He's a PMO, So he says, I'm working my way out of the Watchtower, but my mother's sitting there and she's looking at all the empty seats. So he says, hey, Ma, he's just trying to get her thinking, look at all the empty seats. We're all Jehovah's people. So this is what I'm talking about when witnesses can't reason. So the woman, the mother, she says to the son, well, Jehovah, this is a blessing from Jehovah. For those that really want to come, he's leaving all these empty seats so we can relax and we can put our feet up on them and be relaxed. You see what I'm saying? That's not reasoning. A reasonable person would say, yes, you're right, son. Where are all the people? These are empty seats. The witness says, well, it's a blessing from Jehovah. How do you reason with unreasonable people? That's the problem. Well, you're on Six Greens, JW World News. This is the news. The Watchtower does not want us talking about, but we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the Six Greens Telenetwork. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what else is hiding behind the curtains. I'm not even going to go there. I do have a subject here, but I'm not going to go there tonight. I'm not in the mood to get into it. Bethel and sexuality. Bethel and sex. That's an interesting topic, right? Do you know how many sexual perverts there are in Bethel? Did you ever think about it? I mean, there's a lot there. Just like in Vatican City with the priest. How many? I mean, I'm not going to go into it, but we talked about Pillowgate here. Remember that? how the governing body had to speak to the Bethelites because they were kind of playing around with their pillow, if you know what I mean. So, but I'm not going to go there with that. That's. But I will talk about Bethelites. The subject of Bethelites is open. In Bethel, did you know you could take a pause from your vow of poverty? I never knew that. Now, you know, when the Bethelites, when they become Bethelites and they go to Watchtower, they have to sign, it's an oath. They take an oath. It's a serious thing. It's not just, okay, just sign this paper. It's an oath that they form a pact between the Watchtower and really a pact with the Internal Revenue Service, the government, that they will not make any money. Did you know that? Yeah, Bethelites are not supposed to make any money. And that way they can live at Bethel. They can have free housing. They can have free meals, but they're not supposed to make any money. And then if a Bethelite does make money, they're supposed to give it to the Watchtower. That's a fact. I'm not just making this up. Check it out online. Bethelites and vow of poverty. It'll tell you all about it. But the thing is, now what we have, and I've been seeing this quite a bit, is the Bethelites are taking a pause. Now, I didn't know, maybe the IRS or whoever's in charge of this allows it, but you can actually take a pause. So suppose it's summertime and you're a Bethelite and the Watchtower says, okay, Brother Farron, Sister Farron, you guys can go home now and be with your relatives for a whole month. Well, I guess you can take and some of the Bethelites are doing this right now. They're taking a pause of poverty, a vow of poverty, so they can actually make some money during that month and they don't have to pay it to the Watchtower. I'm just not sure how it works on taxes, but I'm thinking, why? I never heard this before. I've been doing this program for 20 years. I never heard of a pause in the oath of poverty. I never heard of a pause. But what it is because the way the economy is. The Bethelites are they're making nothing. In fact, the latest figures I have on how much money a Bethelite makes. Does anyone have any idea? In fact, I'll tell you what, the one who comes the closest, I'll give a prize. Take a guess. How much money does the average Bethelite make today? You want to take a shot?
I think they get about $20 a month, don't they?
Higher. It's just higher. It used to be around that, but it's higher now, Pixie. Things have gone up. But I know back in the 1970s and 80s, they were making, the Bethelites were making, what was it? I think back then it was about 20. Go ahead.
$200 a month. 200.
All right. Whoever wants to come the closest, they get a prize. Okay. I'm gonna give you. All right. So 200. All right. No.
I'll go 220. If he went 200, I'll go 220.
Well, I'll tell you, you would need to. You would think you would need $200, right? You think you'd at least have to have that, even with room and board. Geez, you got toiletries, you got toothpaste, you got certain things you want to buy some underwear, buy a new shirt. You think you need $200, but it's not even 200. It's not even 200. Yeah. Who said we got Carol online? She says 100. Yeah.
Am I hearing you right? You're saying that the Bethelites have to take a leave of from Bethel to go and actually make some money so that they can survive simply because Bethel pays them nothing. Am I hearing you correctly?
Well, I don't know if I exactly said it.
For years, yeah.
I don't know if I said it exactly.
When we just talked just a second ago about what kinds of things we'd like to ask an active witness about this organization, that would be one. If this is God's organization and God says he's going to take care of his people, how is it that the Bethelites, who get paid a pittance, have to temporarily leave Bethel to go make some money and then go back to serving at Bethel for free? Does that make any sense to you? Would a loving God ask that of you? If that was your child doing that, would you approve? Those are the kinds of questions we can ask them.
Well, let me just make it clear so that there's no confusion. There's no misunderstanding. I really didn't say it. Yeah, hold on 1 second, sister. I really didn't say it the way you said it, Stefan. I have to tell you that they do take a pause, but I'm not saying they take that pause to be able to make a living. We can assume that. So, okay, who's the little sister on there? Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, hi. It came from New Jersey. I'm guessing a people like probably making $150 a month now.
How much, Kim?
150.
I'll tell you what, Kim, you're very close. You're very close.
Really? Is it more or less?
Less.
Really? Wow. But I did it like 120.
Yeah.
But that was like a few years ago.
Yeah. So the last I heard,
I was getting 150.
it's in the vicinity of 120 to 140. That's where it is. Yeah.
Oh my God. What I tell you, you have to give me a call. I have to give you my information. You can send me the.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, I did get a hold of. In fact, I'm glad you're on. Let's just talk about it right now. So you want to come up to the convention? There is you're going to roommate with a person up there. I guess you're going to roommate with them Friday and Saturday, but Thursday they're not going to be there. So it kind of puts you in a bind, right?
I know. I still know how it is to stay up Thursday night. I called my cousin. That she lives in Boston, the Boston area, but she's an hour away. And she said there's no direct. She checked for me, and she told me there's no direct train or bus that leaves from where she lives to Tewksbury.
I'm just curious. Where does she live?
She lives in Boston.
Oh, in Waltham. Okay, yeah. Well, she might have you'd have to, yeah, well, it's a long story, but okay, I'll still keep my eyes open, but you do have Saturday and night, according to the people I've been talking to, but it's just Thursday. So if something comes up, I'll let you know, okay?
Yeah, no.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, okay.
All right, but in the meantime, though, you came the closest for how much money the Bethelites get. I'd like to send you something. Can I send you a book?
Sure.
All right. All you have to do is email me your address, your physical address, and I'll send you like a nice book here for you, Kim. But email me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll get you a book off. Okay?
Is it capital letter or small letters?
Capital letters or small letters? What do you mean, the book?
No, the JW World.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I get confused. It'll be the email. It's all small. It's small letters. Yeah.
Small letters. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim. Always good to hear from you. Keep cranking away at it.
Thank you.
All right. Good girl. All right. That's our good friend, Kim. So, yeah. So vow of poverty. I like the way Stefan said it. I really like the way he said it. I didn't care for the way I said it. I like the way he said it, but I'm not really sure. But I do know there is a pause in their vow of poverty. Somehow the Watchtower is letting them do that. And I'm sure the government must be too, unless they have to pay taxes on the money they make. I don't know. So, but this is what's coming across the internet. All right, let's see what else is going on. Like I say, I keep promoting this. You don't want to miss the next program coming up here on the 6 Screens tonight. Do you know Eric, the witness, the former Jehovah's Witness out of Tennessee? Well, he's up in Maine right now. He's up in my neck of the woods. I'm up here in New England, and Maine is a New England state. I'm in Boston. Of course, that's Massachusetts. But Eric's up in Maine. He's got a very special program tonight. He wants to share something with you. He's got something to share with you that is really a game changer for him. And he's got a special guest coming on tonight, Awakening After the Watchtower, coming on about 20 minutes or so. We're going to do we'll do a little duck game tonight too before we leave. But I'm just going to make sure I got all the stories covered here. I don't want to leave you guys hanging. I want you to know everything that's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Okay, let's take a look over here. Make sure I got it all. Seems like I do, but just make sure that we do. Okay. I guess I covered it all. Yeah, in fact, we covered it all. I got some other stuff. It's incidental, but why don't we do this? I hate to do the duck game right away. But let's do this. Let's go with the duck game. Let's have some fun. Let's play some Watchtower trivia. Okay, Let's play some Watchtower trivia. Let me get my position here because I think it's important. Now, listen, we have some really good books. I don't have them here in front of me. I'm in a new studio tonight. I moved, so it's kind of new. I don't have it all set up the way I want it. I got some more equipment coming, but it didn't get here in time. But at least we're here. We're here broadcasting. We never missed a Saturday night in 20 years. We're here because you're here. And people rely on this program. They really do. This is like a giant therapy session where people can come and talk about their trek in the Watchtower. And, there's not a lot of venues like this. We're a little bit different. We're not like the rest. We're a little bit different in the fact that people can kind of call in live and voice their thoughts and opinions. So anyways, let's see what else we get going here. All right, let me just check something. Well, let's go to the duck game. Let me make sure we got our Jeopardy music up here. Let's make sure that. All right, we got the Jeopardy music up. We're going to be asking, now look at this is on the honor system. What we're going to do is we're going to ask a series of questions about the Watchtower. And you have a chance to win some really good books, Watchtower older publications, as well as some books written about the Watchtower and how much of a cult they are. So we have books. If you get 5 points, you can win a book. We have some collector magnets here, magnets depicting the Watchtower, some of their false prophecies, how they joined the UN, how they were involved with scandals. We have these magnets. You can put them on your refrigerator. You get 2 points, you get a magnet. 5 points, you get a book. You get 12 points, you get $100. I just sent $100 off last week to Nadine out in California. She won a couple $100 here on the 6 screens. So Nadine, I hope you got your money, and I think she'll be playing tonight. But anyways, what you have to do now, you have to go on the honor system. I want you on the honor system. You have to keep your own points. I don't have the time to do that. So be honest. And what I want you to do is I'll give you a question, and then don't answer the question until the Jeopardy music stops. When the Jeopardy music stops, you answer the question. But because we have so many people calling in the phone lines at once, I want you to assign yourself a number. So when you come on to answer, say number 1, number 10, number 11, whatever number you are, I hear that number, and that's what I go by to pick the first person. So bear that in mind. So let's go to the first question of the night. Let's do right now. This is worth 1 point. First question of the night, 1 point. Let me just get to my questions. Hold on 1 second. When you have everything all up, and then you don't see it anymore. Where is it? Okay, just give me a second to get it. Boy, there's so many times when you're doing computer stuff, you have stuff and then you lose it, and where to go? Well, I have it right here. It really ticks you off when this happens. It really does. You have it all set up. Give me 1 second to try to find it again. It's so easy to lose notes on a computer. You should have it all written down here, but let's see what we got. Watchtower trivia. Give me 1 second. WATCH. But I'm glad you're with us tonight. We've got a big group coming in here tonight, and I'm so glad you joined our program tonight. Let me just do this trivia and see what pops up here. Watchtower trivia. All right, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, folks, this happened, but I had everything all set, and then we lose it. And it's very, very upsetting when that happens. But let's see what we got here. All right. Let's ask the first question anyways. Let's see if we can get this. This is worth 2 points. Don't answer the question until the music stops. And I think we had this question before, but I want the name of the cemetery. The name of the cemetery where Charles Taze Russell was buried. Don't answer till the music stops. Okay? What's the name of the cemetery? Any answers? You guys still with me? Nobody knows the answer. What's the name of the cemetery? Well,
The conference has been unlocked.
okay, we did have the conference locked, so maybe people couldn't call in. So what's the name of the cemetery? It's Rosemont, the Rosemont Cemetery. All right. So I'll ask another question. Maybe there wasn't enough people coming on because we had a lot because of
Number 8.
number 8. Who's number 8? Okay. You got the YouTube playing in the background. All right, let's go to another one. Let's ask another question. We let that one go. Okay. Let's go another question here. All right. All right. All right. I don't want to make it too hard for you. That's the problem. I want to make it very easy. Very, very easy for you. All right. Here's an easy question. Everyone should know this. Don't answer till the music stops. Who was the first president of the Watchtower Society? Who was the first president?
Number 8.
Who was the first president?
Number 8.
Did I hear there's someone before number 8? What was the first number? Who said 7? Did I hear 7? Well, let's go with 8. Let's go with 8.
Charles Taze Russell.
No, he was not the first. No, it wasn't Russell. Who wants to give me a number? All right, who was the first president of the Watchtower? Someone said Charles Taze Russell. It's not him.
Joseph Rutherford, y'all.
No, he was the second president. I'm surprised you guys don't know this.
Carl Williams.
No, Charles Taze Russell was not the first president. I'm surprised you. I'll give you. It was William Conley. William Conley. He was a banker. He was a banker, and he actually helped fund the Watchtower. All right, let's go to another question. Hold on one second. All right, these are just random questions. Let's go with this. All right. So the question would be, I'm sorry, the computer screen is very light here. I'm having a hard time reading it. All right. What Canadian city did Joseph Rutherford get his illegal booze from during the probation? What Canadian city did he get his illegal booze from during the probation? Don't answer till the music stops.
Number 8.
Number 8. Tell me.
Toronto.
Who's this?
Alan from Florida.
Alan, you're absolutely right. So can you tell the audience a little bit about that? Do you have a little knowledge on that?
Not really. Just what I hear on the internet and whatnot. I know that it was during the Beth Serene years.
All right. Who out there listening would like to give a little narrative on why Rutherford was getting his booze from Toronto?
Rick?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. Rutherford, for some reason, really despised Brother Nathan Knorr, and he, just to kind of show him who had control over him, forced Nathan Knorr into Toronto, crossing the border into Canada to procure his whiskey, because it was during the prohibition against alcohol in those years, and it's just really irritated Knorr to no end, and he couldn't wait to become president over Rutherford. Rutherford was a real bully and a scoundrel.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Anne Marie, because I'll tell you what, during Prohibition, now we all, I think, know what that was, right? At one time in America, you could not buy alcohol. It was against the law. So, if people were drinkers like Rutherford, that was a problem. You wanted to get it. So he got people up in Toronto, evidently Bethelites or whoever was up there, because Canada, you could still drink. So he got people up there to run bootleg booze from Toronto to New York. Now they did that by way of the Great Lakes, and they came right into New York, and he got his booze. But Rutherford, I'll tell you what, even doing a little studying on that, he actually was condemning the United States for prohibiting alcohol. He thought that it was something that the government shouldn't do. He was politically active, but Jehovah's Witnesses can't be politically active. I even believe he wrote a letter showing his concerns over prohibition. But witnesses, the average witness couldn't do it, but Rutherford could. All right, thank you, Anne Marie. Thanks for that narrative. Let's go to the next question here, and let's see what this question is. Hold on one second. Let me go to it. Like I say, my computer is really so light, I'm having a hard time reading. All right, hold on one second. Okay. Boy, I tell you, just a hard time reading this. Just give me a second, folks. Hang in. All right, let's go with this one. All right, Charles Taze Russell, he was on a train and he died. And he had a special wish before he died on how they would dress him when he was dying. Tell me how or what his wish was. Don't answer until the music stops. Okay.
9.
Number 8.
I heard number one first. Number one.
I didn't even hear the question. I'm coming in late. A toga?
Yeah, you got it, Jack.
I heard pizza.
You
Exactly.
all right, Zach? Well, take a point, okay? Take a point. All right. Well, anyway. Hi, who's this? Hi.
It's Nadine. Hi. It's Nadine. I just wanted to tell you that I received the check and I wanted to thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, don't thank me until it cashes.
I cashed it yesterday.
Okay. Well, I guess there was still money in the account. That's good. Excellent. Well, I'm glad.
I have it. I have the money. I have it in my wallet.
Good. Well, I'm glad you got the money. Well, that's good. Well, so far you're the champion for the duck game, Nadine.
Well, now the competition is really stiff, and like if I say a number, I don't know if you're hearing it, but for a while there, the conference was locked at first for the first question.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, what happens here is, well, I don't want to beat it to death, but the drunken Bethelites, they've been coming in tonight.
Yes, I know.
Yes. So that's what that's what been
I
happening.
just wanted to thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, Nadine, you're a wonderful lady. Don't you ever change, really. All right, let's see what's going on here. All right, I like the game, but Eric, I'm going to see if Eric's on. I'm looking so forward to Eric's program tonight. He's got a big announcement. Well, let me just check the other room here backstage, see if Eric's on. Okay, he's not on yet. All right, so we'll give him. Maybe we can stay in the game here. I mean, Nadine wants to win more money. She's already won a couple $100. So let's take a look here. Let me get in. Just give me a second. I had some really good. Let's play the game a little bit more. We're having fun with it tonight. Why not continue? Watchtower trivia. Let me punch this in. And
Rick?
yes.
Hi, I'm sorry. I just wanted to expand a little bit on
on Russell dying on the train car. He believed he had his own train car and he wanted to be wrapped in a toga. And he said, "Let me show you how a man of God dies." And of course, they didn't have a proper toga, so they wrapped him in sheets. And it was while they were passing through Tampa, Texas, that he died. October 31st, 1915 or 1916, was it, Rick?
1918. Was it? Yeah, I think it was not. Well, no, I'm not sure, Anne-Marie. You caught me on. It might have been 1916. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go to another question right now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go to another question.
All right. Okay, let's go. All right. So, anyways, if you went to the elders and said, "Brother Elder, can you please advise me? I am doing work to make extra money to buy a new car, and I'm going to buy a new car. What type of car would the elders want you to buy?" Don't answer till the music stops.
$14.
I think Nadine said 10. Nadine,
I did.
what kind of a
A four-door to fit more people in the car.
You're absolutely right. Is there anybody out there? If there's anybody listening to this program tonight, I'm going to give you a point. Is there anybody out there that specifically took the advice of the congregation and bought a four-door car, even though people like coupes, two-door cars? If there's anybody out there that did, I'm going to give you a point. I'm just curious. All right.
If anybody bought a two-door, you mean?
Yes. I mean, if anybody, yes.
It wasn't me, but it was a former close friend of mine. He was an elder. He came over to my house one day in this two-door convertible, some kind of SUV convertible thing. Never seen it before. And before I could even open my mouth to say, "Oh, that's cool, that's nice, congratulations," before I could even open my mouth and commend him for getting a new car, something apparently he wanted, the first thing out of his mouth was, "Don't worry, I also bought a brand new Honda something or the other minivan for service." Before I could even commend him, that was the first thing out of his mouth, how he bought this car for service. So that shows you the level of indoctrination and brainwashing.
It's unbelievable. No, I know there's people that have actually been, maybe chastised is not the right word, but I'm going to use it, that were chastised for buying a two-door car. How are you going to fit the service group in there? Oh, they loved it when you said you bought a van. They loved that. All right, let's go to the next question. The next question has to do with service groups. Now, at one time, we had what they call the Bible study group. We had another thing that was called the book study group. But can you give me another name for the Tuesday night book study group? Hold on, after the music.
Two.
Let's go with two.
That was Zachary. The rendezvous.
Well, Zachary, you are too smart. You are too smart. It was the rendezvous group. Now, I bet there's a lot listening to this that did not know that. Rendezvous. We used to refer to the book study as a rendezvous. Now, if someone can give me a logical explanation, why Watchtower has a tendency to change things, the names of a book study, the names of numerous things. Excuse me. Well, why give me a little narrative on why the Watchtower changes things? Anyone want to do that? It's worth a point.
I think that they like to confuse people.
Well, they do like to confuse people, but that's not the answer. What do you think the answer? Why does the Watchtower like? Well, I'll give you another example.
They like to be new and fresh.
Hold on. Everyone, hold on. We got a lot of people online, but let me just give you another example. They changed the name, book study, congregation study, rendezvous, at least 3 times I know of. But also recently they changed from, well, we'll ask that next question, but let's get the narrative first. Why does the Watchtower, why do they change? Okay. Why do they?
Can I answer?
Go ahead, answer, Zach.
Oh, okay. Sometimes the changes, the book study change was they changed it to this French term that was a sort of meeting between people, rendezvous. The recent change about instead of using disfellowshipping to removing, they changed that to change it to what that scripture in 2 Corinthians says, remove the wicked man from amongst yourselves. So they would say that their changes are because they want to bring things in closer harmony with what the Bible says. And they would also admit that they want to get away from more terms that the world would use.
Well, nice try, Zach, but no cigar. Okay. Stefan, let's go with Stefan. 7.
I'm going to say because a rendezvous sounds like a sexual encounter.
Well, we're still on rendezvous, but I'm just, in general, why does the Watchtower change its position on terms?
I said new light. I said new light.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is simply, what's that? You want to give another shot? Go ahead. Yep.
Thank you. I think it's because they keep changing the language and the terms because they need to know that everybody is quote unquote up to date in the current Watchtower language. And it also helps to differentiate between who is a true loyal witness and who is not.
You're absolutely.
I have an answer too.
55.
Keep in step with present truth.
But that goes along with new light.
Well, let's hear from 55.
I believe that they changed the terminology to separate themselves from the world, to set them apart from the world, to create a class for themselves.
Well, these are all good answers, but Anne Marie, she's the winner. I'm going to give her a point. You're getting the point, Anne Marie. It's what it is. Let me tell you this. It's very simple. They want to keep you loyal, and they can tell you're a weak witness by terms you would use. I mean, a witness that's really sharp and a great witness would know everything. They'd know that the terms are correct, what the Watchtower wants you to use. And just to give you an idea on that, when I went down, Brother Loesch had me come down to the world headquarters and to visit him. And I got to know him on the phone. So I went down to the world headquarters and I walked into his office. And what was on the only thing that was on Brother Loesch's desk was a green Bible. I think he was checking me out. I mean, that was back in 2000, in the year 2000. We haven't used a green Bible for 10 years. Earlier, we weren't even using it. So he had that there. I think he was trying to see if I was spiritually mature. Because I asked him, why do you have a green Bible? Oh, no, this is just a Bible I have. It's not my real Bible, the one I use all the time. So they just want to keep up to date. And they can tell if you're spiritually mature or not. Okay, here's the next question. And it's along the same lines, changing names. All right, so before we would have a district convention. What do they call it now?
Seven.
I heard seven first. I heard seven first.
I'm gonna go with regional.
Yep, it's regional. I mean, that's an easy one, Steph. I don't even feel like giving you a point for that. I mean, so easy. But I have to.
I'll tell you, Rick. Listen, Rick, take the whole thing. You can't put your finger on the scale like that. See?
Well, I was trying to see if Nadine would have got that one. I
I said 10, but I wasn't fast, and I knew it was regional.
You weren't fast enough, huh? All right. Let's go with this. All right, let's go with this. See if anyone can remember this. Is this true or false? Back in the year was about 2000, I'd say 2003, 2002. There was an announcement made from the platform that when you're in service, now this is true or false, that when you're in service, it would be best not for the whole group in service to meet at the same donut shop for break. Is that true or false?
Yeah.
I heard number two first.
Yeah, I would say that's false. They would not acknowledge that they meet at donut shop.
Well, Zach, actually, it was true. It was actually true. Yeah, they did not want the witnesses all gathering together. And the reason they gave for that was really stupid. I mean, really. The reason they gave, I remember the announcement, brothers and sisters, when we're in a service, on Saturday, and we have different groups, it's best not all to meet at the same, restaurant, Dunkin' Donuts we used to all go to. And the reason they gave for that is because people listening in the donut shop or wherever we went for a break, people listening in that weren't witnesses, they would think that we were very odd because we were using certain terms that they wouldn't understand, like, like service or backcalls or return visits. And we're mentioning this at the donut shop. It said that people would look at us as though we were odd. I think they were looking at us anyways as though we were odd, but they did make that statement. Isn't that something? Yeah. You never heard that, Zach. See, we pulled one over on you.
I don't remember that announcement, but maybe I blinked.
Oh, all right. Well, let's go to.
That was from the mother, as they say, mother?
Yeah, mother. Yeah, mother.
Okay.
Mother organization. All right. All right. Let's go with the next one. All right. I mean, throughout the years of the Jehovah's Witness history, a lot of suggestions have been made, or at least statements made, maybe not from the platform, but it kind of went around the witness world. And there was, at one time, blood was practically in everything. I mean, don't eat a Hershey bar. Don't drink that wine. Don't eat a hot dog. I mean, we heard this all the time. Don't do this because there's blood in it. Even to the point there was blood in plywood. Don't buy a certain plywood because it had blood in it. The glue had blood, Haas's glue or something like that. But anyways, the question here tonight would be, what ice cream stand? What ice cream stand did the witnesses start a rumor that had blood in it and don't buy their ice cream?
Hey, 99.
Did I hear number 8?
Yes, Dairy Queen.
Yes. Who's this?
Alan from Florida.
Alan, you're getting good. Nadine's getting jealous. You're getting very good. Did you know that one, Nadine?
Yeah, I did.
You did? You weren't quick enough on the trigger, huh?
No.
I did not know that.
Boy, we're stumping Jack tonight. Zach, maybe we can play next week's game, Stump Zach. You know.
Jack is falling behind. I'm surprised.
I don't think we had Dairy Queen in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is Alan from Florida. Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I'm fully booked with airfare, room, and auto rental. And I just want to make this heartfelt comment. There is so much preparation, time, and effort that you're making for this convention and what you do weekly. And from my heart, I just wanted to say thank you for all you do. That's it.
Well, thank you for saying that. But you know something, Alan, I'm having fun. And I don't mind doing anything if I'm having fun. And I find this is the highlight of my week. And I love coming on and talking to all my friends. Yes.
Rick, I'm flying up on Thursday, and my plane arrives in Boston, I don't know, around 9:30. If you need a helping hand setting anything up, I'll be there for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, in fact, I'll tell you, hopefully I asked them. See, I rented the convention center they have. It's not huge. It's about 350, 400 people. But I rented that for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And part of the deal was if nobody's there Thursday, they're going to let me set up. So I've been,
help you.
well, thank you. Thank you. If you're up there, I'm sure people will be there Thursday night as well. But we have an 8-piece band, Alan, an 8-piece live band. They just sent me their repertoire of music. And, you know, there's so many songs that when I hear it, it kind of reminds me of the Watchtower, like Hotel California. You can check in, but you can't check out. I think of Bruce Springsteen's song "Born on the Run," on how people committing suicides on the streets. So we all have songs that are kind of reminiscent. Bonnie Tyler, "Oh, It's a Heartbreaker." So these type of songs, they resonate in the ex-witness world. And if there's anybody on here tonight that has listened to a song that kind of identifies their trek in the Watchtower, would you like to speak up and say what that song would be? There's a lot of them. I think of a number of them. Does anyone have a song?
Question again?
The question is, it's really not a question, but it's just a little thought I've been giving. It's the convention, Zach, that we're going to have up here in New England. I sure wish I could get you up here. I really do. I wish I have masks. We can put a mask on you. If we could get you up, you would be the highlight of the convention, really. And I do have masks, the number of masks. There was a costume shop that went out of business up here in Boston. So I went out there and I bought a bunch of masks, and they're really nice feminine masks. I got full head masks of Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. So if someone doesn't want to be seen, I got all those masks. So we'll hide you. And all.
Obama?
I got Obama too. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You're the one.
Yeah.
You're the one.
Yeah. But I'd love to have you come up, Zach, because we're going to have a talent show on Saturday night. Oh, yeah. We have, I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a big deal. I got to hit a home run here, or I'm going to look like an idiot. I got to make this thing really big. And so far, it's looking good. So far, it's looking very good. We got Barbara Anderson. We got Fritz Springmeier. I've got an elder who lost his son. It's not a joking thing. He lost his son in suicide. I got 2 women that were sexually trafficked in the Watchtower coming to give a talk. I have an AI professor coming to give a talk. And I also have, there's a film company out of Spain. And they're making a big deal out of this. Also, I mean, if Chat GPT, if you punch into Chat GPT, still alive in 2025 ex-witness convention, it's big. It's really big. I can't believe the write-ups we're getting, but they heard about it in Spain. So they're sending a film crew. They're going to make like a short story out of this whole thing. It's going to be played in a lot of countries, I guess, in different languages. And it's a documentary all about the ex-witnesses, how and why they left the Watchtower. And they're going to be interviewing anyone that comes to the convention. They figured it would be a great place to talk to people. So anyone that would like to tell their story on an international film about their trek in the Watchtower and why they left it, the movie crew is going to be there. So they're coming up. And how they have this planned, this is going to be like a real story. So they're flying from Spain to Barbara Anderson's place out there in Tennessee. I don't know where they're landing, probably Memphis or Nashville or something like that. And they're going to go to Barbara Anderson's house, and they're going to film her getting on a plane coming to Boston. And then they're going to show her getting off the plane. Then they're going to show her coming into the convention of ex-witnesses. And they're going to make a little story out of it. And so it's going to be quite the film. So they got a whole film crew coming, and they're already booked in at the Hilton that we're at. So if you want to come up and tell your story, anybody out there listening, and you really want to get your story told on a documentary film about Jehovah's Witnesses, here's a chance to do it. So it's going to be quite the thing. It's really something we're looking forward to. And if there's anyone out there listening tonight, in fact, even when it comes up on YouTube, when they upload it, right now it's live. We got about 217 people listening right now live. But when it gets uploaded, we probably get, 4,000 or 5,000 people listening in. So if you're watching it, even when it's uploaded, if you have a story, now an extreme story of abuse or whatever in the Watchtower, maybe you were shunned, lost your family, well, whatever it is, if it's extreme story, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll give you a spot in the convention. You can tell the story. And I'd love to have you come up here. The tickets are free. Write me for the tickets. I'll send you the tickets. Write me at jwnews@gmail.com. We'll get you the tickets free. All right, let's ask one more question. I just want to, yes.
Earlier, you said you'd give a point to anyone who had purchased a car that had 2 doors instead of 4 doors.
Yes, I did.
And I didn't want to be misleading, but I checked, and I did purchase a 2-door car. My first car was an early 80s car, and it was a Datsun 210, and it only had 2 doors, and the seats you had to pull forward. And I did use it in field service during pioneering.
All right. Well, for sharing that with us, Zach, as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to give you a point.
This car, I'm looking at it, and I found one on the internet. It is my car, and it's the same color, everything. Yeah, and it is 2-door. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, thank you. And Zach, I really mean it. I don't think I can talk you into coming to the convention, but if you could, we're going to have a talent show on Saturday night. Apostate's Got Talent, and you're a great singer. You would love to have you. We do have some other talent as well. I wanted to mention we have an 8-piece band as well. I think I mentioned that earlier. And we are going to have a rockin' awesome night. Actually, 3 days there. And people, when they leave, they're not wanting to go home. They're going to want to stay. Because have you ever been somewhere where you felt really good? I mean, you felt like, boy, everybody's on the same page. You didn't feel like the third monkey on Noah's Ark. You felt like you fit in. That's what you're going to feel like when you come to the convention. So everyone's welcome. See if you can't make it. Well, I think that's it. Now, don't leave. I mean it. I don't even care if you listen to this show. You got to listen to the next show. We have Eric. He's coming on. He's up here in Maine. And he's got a special guest. He wants to share something with you. Please don't leave. Listen to Eric. You are going to be excited. Eric's on next. And friends, I want to tell you all, I want you all to keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up or out. Keep waving the flag of victory. And another thing I'm going to add, don't ever let your visions die. Don't ever let them die. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. Please turn off the new light. I'll see you next week. Eric's coming up next. Thank you for coming in and sharing your night here at the Six Screens. So we'll end this program right now.